Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, BG, Survive the Spin, FE Patriot, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Sea Level Cultist, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twodwazzle, Jason Hornsby, JMails24, Unimento, Iron26, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Just so, whoops, go back there. Right. They want to deny this green line, which is the opposite. When you're measuring a right angle triangle, right, you're measuring, right, you have an adjacent, an opposite, and a hypotenuse. Let's say this here I have is a mountain, right? You're measuring the angular height of the mountain, right? Now, if you have the actual height of the mountain, well, whatever it might be, and you know that actual height, the angle you get will give you your adjacent length from the GP point of the mountain, which will be there, let's just say, right? So you can find out exactly how far away from this point you are via knowing the length of this line, right? Now, if you know the length of this blue line, right, from the observer to this point here, then you can know via that length with your angle, you can determine the length of the green line, right? So knowing the length of the green line with the angle will allow you to know the length of the blue line, or knowing the length of the blue line, right, with the angle will allow you to know the length of the green line. Just basic, that's trigonometry, okay? Now, when it comes to celestial bodies, it doesn't work that way. You're still using a right angle triangle, and this is the thing. Our opposition need to oppose the right angle triangle as much as possible, even though, and they
Oh, we're in a silly subject. Listen to what Brian just said. Let's just rewind it a sec.
Yeah, how do you oppose a right-handed triangle?
Exactly.
this is the thing. Our opposition need to oppose the right angle triangle.
So silly.
Yeah, it's like one of those things when you hear it out loud, it's like, what?
Yeah, that's what it all boils down to, right? On our side, the actual argument doesn't exist, but the reality of the situation is we talk about measuring Earth. Us, not flat earthers, that's something totally different. We talk about measuring Earth flat. And our opponents, when dealing with us, brace against reality. In this case, measuring triangles. Oh dear.
Was that Brian's latest video?
Yeah. For whatever reason.
As much as possible. Even though, and they don't know this, the majority of the idiots we deal with, they actually use them in their own system. Right? Now, it's only a mathematical system. It's not a real system because you're not measuring it in reality on a globe, because globes don't exist. Or, sorry, the globe doesn't exist in reality. the Earth is not a globe. It's demonstrably horizontal plane with vertical heights above and below that horizontal plane, heights and drops above and below that horizontal plane. But they have to hijack those measurements to mathematically create a globe, right? As I've pointed out over the years. Now, what they want to do is they want to deny that when we're dealing with a celestial body, I'm just going to use Polaris, right, because this is the challenge, right, of this video, is for the ballers to give us the height of Polaris, right? And I'm not talking about within their BS paradigm, I'm talking about in reality, and I'll get to that at the end of the video. I have up here Polaris unattainable distance, because Polaris technically doesn't have a distance. Neither do any of the rest of the celestial bodies. Because for Polaris to have a distance, right, from Earth's surface, where say this is its GP point here, right, and this is Polaris here, it has to, right, it would have to behave as the same as the top of this mountain. Because what this mountain has here, right, or the mountain depictions, right, what that has is a consistent geometric location. Because it is a geometric object, right? We don't know what Polaris is to say what it is or isn't, but it doesn't hold a consistent geometric position. Nothing in the sky does, right?
I like Brian. He's just got the right caveats to keep me happy, right? So he said then, obviously everything else notwithstanding, it's all perfect, but the specific thing that I'm stopping for is him saying we don't know what it is or isn't, right? He's peppered that little caveat in there. You're like, yeah, good, because he's right, I don't know what it isn't. So when people say, well, it can't be physical, whoa, how do you know it isn't physical? You don't know what it is. So you also don't know what it isn't. So I don't know, I like Brian.
Wait a second. When you say physical, it is because we see it. It's just not tangible, right? I don't know. I thought we cleared that up with refracted a while ago.
There's nothing consistently geometric. There's no.
I was on mute for that whole ramble. Ugh.
Did you hear what I asked?
I thought I was replying and then I looked up and I'm on mute. Oh well.
Nothing in the sky that holds a consistent geometric position, right? Right. There's no stars, anything that will hold a position. When it comes to the measurement in angle of it, this mountain, right, will hold a consistent geometric position. We can measure the height, the length of this green line, the opposite. We can measure that, right? And we can measure this blue line, right? The length of this blue line. We can measure both of those, right? And as I said earlier, we can determine the length of the green line with the angle and the knowing and the know. Sorry, we can determine the length of the green line with the angle we measure and the known length of the adjacent. Or we can determine the length of the blue line, right, with the angle and the known length of the opposite, right, with trigonometry. With a celestial body, you cannot do that. Now, if you want, you can decide, right? I'm just going to show, right? As an example, sorry. I'm going to just go here. Just going to get the length. If you want, after you've used the processes that's used in celestial navigation and astronomy sometimes too, right? Astronomy as well, right? Because they need to sometimes know distances. You can go, let's say, a 6, right? You can say that, let's say we'll use the 60 degree line. That will give you a distance from the GP of Polaris of 1,800, right? 1,800 nautical miles, right? So I can go, right, take that 1,800 and the 60 degrees. I can go to, let's say, a right angle triangle calculator.
Someone just joined the G Plus Hangout.
Hello.
Hello, Craig.
What's up? Click OK.
Yep, we're clicking OK.
Right? I can go and say 60, put it into here for A here for the angle, right? And I can go 1,800 for B, right? 1,800. Now, and I can press, right? Now, I can press calculate, right? And A, right, the length of A will be 3,117, right? That's the length of A. So according to this right angle triangle calculator, and according to the ballers, Polaris should be 3,117 feet high off of the surface of Earth. But if I then use 50 degrees and not 60 degrees, so 50 degrees and a distance of 2,400 nautical miles. And remember, as I said, I'll get to that in a second, about how we gain the distance. So I'm going to use 50 degrees, right? I'll use 50. Now remember, it was 3,117, right? I'll use 50 instead of 60, and I put in 2,400 here, right? 2,400, it'll be 600 more. And I press calculate, and I get 2,860. Now that would mean that according to the borders, as they treat Polaris, as they want to treat Polaris like the top of a mountain, and they want to state that we should be able to get the correct height of Polaris with trigonometry if we're using an elevation angle, or if we're using a right angle triangle, because they want to strawman us, right? But we're still using a right angle triangle, right? Because this vertical here up to the 50 degree mark, right? And then this, right, that's the opposite. Then we have this orange line down to here, which is the hypotenuse, and this portion of the black line from here to here, which is the adjacent. It's still a right angle triangle. You're always, because you're measuring, as I said, stated over and over and over in the last video and in previous videos, you're measuring the opposite. But because Polaris doesn't hold a consistent geometric location in the sky, like the tip of the mount, like the top of a mountain does, because it doesn't do that, it means that you're going to get a different apparent height to it every time you change the angle and the distance. Because the distance is going to give the distance will give you a different angle. So if you're getting 60 degrees of an angle to Polaris, then that means that you're 1,800 miles, nautical miles from its GP. If you're getting 50 degrees, that means you're 2,400 nautical miles from its GP. But these degrees are just an angular height, but they're an angular measurement of the opposite. Now, as I showed, you can do trigonometry, but you will not get a consistent height. If I have a height of this mountain here, if it's, let's say that mountain is, let's say 1,550 feet, right? And that's right from sea level up, and I'm measuring from sea level to the mountain, and I have an angle of 6.009 degrees, right? So I'm just going to go here, I'm just going to clear, right? So, so the height of the mountain I'm going to A is, right, 15,500, I meant to say, 15,500 feet, and the angle is 6,009, right? That's the angle, right? And I press calculate, right? Less than, what am I doing? Oh, sorry, I meant to put in, I knew that. I didn't put in the 6.009. Right, I didn't put in the decimal place. That means that my distance from it is 100, if I'm dealing with feet, it's 147,250 feet, because I gave a height in feet. So with the angle of 6.009 degrees and the height of the mountain 15,500, right, I keep A the same, that never changes, right, which is my here. And my angle will change, but A never changes. And if I change my angle to, let's just change it to 4009, press calculate, I get a different distance, right? 221,161 feet, right? I get a different distance from the GP of that mountain. But the mountain here doesn't change. A never changes, right? But when it comes to Polaris, or one of the celestial bodies, we don't have A. Right, and the only way we can get some ad hoc A, right, to put in the ad hoc figure to put in for here, is only after we have already used the celestial navigation process of determining our straight line horizontal distance from the GP of that celestial body, Polaris in this scenario. So, as I showed earlier, a 60-degree angle and a 50-degree angle, right? If I'm just using the distance that I gain via, let's just say my angle is 50 degrees, I subtract that from 90, it gives me 40, then I multiply 40 by 60 to get 2400, right? Because that'll be my zenith distance. The point being is that distance is a horizontal, right? That's my angle is off of this horizontal here. It's up along the vertical. So I'm using a horizontal, the adjacent, a vertical, the opposite, and then I have a hypotenuse, which is my angle line. So once I go through the process using celestial navigation, I can then have a distance along the adjacent. But that distance along the adjacent will never give me a consistent height to the celestial body. Because it's not like with the mountain. It's not the same. There isn't a consistent geometric location. Like, I won't be able to just use that distance right along the adjacent to gain a consistent length or height to the opposite. It'll never happen with a celestial body because they don't behave like something terrestrial that holds a consistent geometric location. If they don't behave that way, I can't gain this length of the opposite. Every opposite length will differ with the angle and distance. Every one of them. It won't with the mountain, right? Because I know I have a consistent geometric location for the mountain and a consistent geometric height. I don't have that with Polaris or one of the other celestial bodies. That doesn't exist for that. They don't behave like a mountain.
How are you?
I'm alright. A little bit miserable. I had a bereavement just before I went away on the sick, so to speak, at the end of last week. So my dad died last week, which was a bit miserable for all. Funeral will be in about a week's time. Fun. So I think after dealing with all that, I just, your body eventually gives out and gets sick. And that's what happened to me at the end of last week. So if I sounded a bit rough towards the middle of the week, that's why. And if you got repeats and were wondering why there was no live shows, that's why. But I was on Ballbusters, feeling a bit better. So, yeah, I'm all right. Thanks for asking, Neil. I assume that was the intonation in terms of your question.
Yes, and condolences. And from what we got because we were supposed to go into Omnivore. Omnivore was coolly understood, but some certain ballers in there like Dawn. Remember Dawn, that numpty? He's thinking of making excuses. So I'm like, is this guy out of his mind? It's like they have no, it's like they're robots. There's no humanity in them. I don't know.
Okay. I don't think so. I mean, these people are normies, and he's a normie, right? And no disrespect to him saying that. I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. I'm not saying it to cast aspersions on him being normal. I'm saying he does normal stuff. He probably goes out drinking with the lads, and you know, from the last time I checked on Dawn Treader, if that's the guy you're talking about, he was flying drones around very, very well, as in he was extremely good at it. And you're like, cool, you know, he's got an interest, he's got a hobby. Maybe pay attention to how the GPS would work in your drone, to the Cartesian plane of reference for the height above a flat plane. But if you're just in a paradigm where you want the religion of the day to stand true, then you want the religion of the day to stand true. You know, the projected pain that we get from our opponents is becoming more and more clear to me, right? We are feared because we represent the unknown to people who think they already know what the world is. And it's been figured out for them in the form of heliocentrism. We stand to challenge the consensus view that brings them comfort. We all know it's a ball, is what they want to be able to chant. Now, we are flying in the face of that, and it makes them deeply uncomfortable and want to project that discomfort and pain onto us. Well, that's life. You just have to be prepared for that. You have to have some pretty thick
That's a
armor.
good way of putting it. I never thought of it like that.
That's how it is. Wow, thank you for the super chat, Duncan McLeod. Oh, I've not set up my thingy. Whoopsie. Let's just do that now. I'm slightly confused. Where's the... Why isn't that button giving me my chat? Okay, sorry, that's throwing me off completely. I've pressed a button that typically gives me my chat feed, and it's not. It's giving me my backdrop. Oh, it's because I haven't popped it out. Oh, okay, that's why. I'll do that now. I'll get to you, Duncan. I promise. I'll shout out your super chat. I really appreciate the support. I'm so poor, as is Neil. Both paupers at the moment, aren't we, Neil?
Yeah, well, the good news for me is my daughter was able to have some compassion on her old man, and she signed up for Instacart. So I should be able to start doing Instacart again under her name as soon as she clears her background check. So far, so good. I had to use Ingenuity because when you log in with a different number, they want you to take a picture of yourself. So she sent me 3 pictures, and I just held the phone to my wife's screen where her pictures were on, and it went through. So once that clears, I'll be back to work, baby.
You dodgy scumbag, eh? Fair enough, Neil. Just broadcast to the world how you're swindling that system.
Yeah, we're in a dark corner of the internet, according to some. Who's going to know?
Oh, I agree, mate. I don't care. That's why I'm laughing. It's kind of a who cares scenario at the moment with this. For us, this is the calm before the storm, Neil. So the consequences of what we say currently on the show aren't really that high. So we've got 36 people watching. Yeah, my figure's right. It's not 136 people. Even then, I probably wouldn't be watching my tongue. You know, but if it was 1,360 people, then I might be a little bit more concerned. But we're shielded from the world in terms of what we talk about, right? And that has a direct consequence on us, right? As a family men trying to support a family. You
Until the
indirectly.
book comes out.
Say again?
Until the book comes out, then things are going to change. It's going to radically change everything. What you're getting in this book is nowhere else in Flat Earth books. You're not going to find it. They may allude to it, but it's not broken down the way it's broken down here. Very understandable. The everyday man can understand what's written in that book. So there will be changes.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I said this to my wife, right, while we were going through the process, because I've got to kind of justify us struggling at the moment. I've run out of money completely. So about a month ago, or 3 months ago, I was like, I'll sell microphones and the profits will go to my mortgage. Well, that's all well and good, but I'm still about 550 quid out of pocket. In other words, it hasn't actually generated any money yet. So I'm still churning these stupid microphones, and it really hasn't actually benefited me yet. Now, that's not to say that the 75 listings on eBay that I've got won't eventually churn through and develop money for me that will help me pay the mortgage. But for the moment, it really hasn't actually benefited me yet. I'm still out of pocket. So you're like, oh, come on, just sell. But that means I'm broke, right? Same as Neil, because Neil was like explaining that a contributor, specifically Jardo, got in touch and sent me PayPal money when Neil had had a car accident. But apparently I hadn't actually read the message that was alluding to send this to Neil, and I hadn't, or not that I can recall, or whatever. That for whatever reason, there's been an amount that Neil was expecting that he didn't get when he had that car accident that I was unaware of. So I've got to find out from Jardo. At a point where I'm really broke, but in either event, right, we're both kind of scratching around for pennies at the moment, and I'm like, well, if I owe you some pennies, Neil, then I will give them to you because I feel your pain. You know what I mean? What little I do have, I'll scrape together and give you if you're owed.
Yeah, but I don't like that because you put that whole thing together for me. So if you didn't do that, I would have been up Schitt's Creek. Excuse
But by
the
the same
terms, but
token,
that's
Neil,
the
it's
fact.
like what I'm doing in not Discord, in I'll keep wanting to say Skype, but it's Teams, is I show people some of the successes I have now. In successes, in terms of flogging microphones, right, my successes are actually the buying side. That is to say, look how cheap I've bought this for. But as far as the onlooker's concerned, it's just me spending money. So people would look in and go, what? You're bragging about the fact that you've got this item for £50. It's like, yeah, I have. I'm really delighted. I can probably sell it for 75. I'm over the moon that will sit on my stock list till it does sell and hopefully generate a half decent profit. Well, that's where I'm at with a lot of different things. But it looks like I'm spending a ton of money because I am. I've spent £4,000, right? I keep keeping track of the money that I'm spending as Nathan Oakley lowercase. I'll explain what that means maybe some other time. But yeah, I'm keeping a close eye on it, and it's like at some point I've got to be able to turn around to my wife and go, look, I'm actually paying the mortgage with this. I've got to shout out a super chat because that's more important, because that is actually covering the mortgage. Another shout out to Duncan McLeod. Instacart is great. Meet tons of lovely chicks at home. Oh, love it, absolutely love it, Duncan. I don't think that's the inference from Neil, but I'll take it as it's come via a super chat. Thank you very much. So yeah, anyway, it's one of them. Hopefully, in time, my microphones will keep me ticking over, because I say nowhere near. We're not at the end of the book, but by near the end, right? I want to be passing it on to the publisher and saying, "Can you go over it with a fine-tooth comb as well? We have already done it 5 times." So, can you go through it now? Just make sure that the I's and T's are actually crossed and dotted, and then we can actually publish the damn thing. At which point, I can then not publish it, hand it off to the voiceover artist who's going to do the professional version of the audiobook version of the book once it's complete. Obviously, you can't read it until it's been ticked off by the publisher and he said, yes, I'm happy for this to go into the book form. And then it needs to be verbatim, word for word, professionally read by the voiceover artist who's offered to do it for free, but he will need time to do it, so that simultaneously there can be a book version, an ebook version, and an audiobook version all coming out all simultaneously with a launch date, a bit like the Black Swan, like 1st Jan 2020. Now, ideally, it's going to be sometime this year. That's what I've basically said and alluded, and I'm pretty certain that's still going to remain the case. But you know, the book will, as I explained to my wife, I think that's where we join this discussion, make a difference beyond me. Yeah, me and how long I'm here and what I benefit from it financially is kind of a short-term thing that I'm desperate to get to, but is irrelevant of the book as an entity. What do I mean by that? Think of Parallax. Where's Rowbotham? He's dead. Does he give a shit? He's not making a dime, is he? Right? But the book has surpassed him as the man, hasn't it? This book is that. Now, I'm having to break that down to my wife when I'm like, yes, I am run out of money. No, I can't give you any money for that petrol because I've run out of money. But no, I can't get the book to just come out now because this book is more important than me and just the money that I'll get out of it. Right? It's grown beyond that. Yeah? So the way I put it to her is, 100 years from now, there's a good chance that our grandkids might take a royalty from this book if they retain the rights to it, right? if they can keep hold of the publishing rights, because it'll still be sold then when I'm dead. Therefore, the importance of getting it right now is higher. And each time that gets noted, the stakes rise and people want to re-go through it again and polish it one more, give it extra glean. Now, I get fair enough, you want that extra polish on it every time, and each time you go, well, this is now a more important book, the stakes rise, we better polish it some more then. That has got to end sometime, and we are actually at the end of that very drawn-out process of polishing, and rewriting, and redrafting, and repolishing, and redrafting, and repolishing, and rewriting. But yeah, so like I say, it's gone beyond me just going, well, this will develop a bit of cash for me, because that was the original intention from 10th Man. It was like, oh, you're struggling financially because you're so heavily censored. I'm like, yeah. Well, it's like, well, what about getting a different revenue stream from a book? I'm like, yeah, sounds good to me. Let's write one. So then when people get wind of that, they're like, well, it's got to be good then if you're going to put your name on it. You are an extension of me, and I don't want you to poorly represent me. Therefore, I want to make sure what you're putting out doesn't reflect badly on me. Let's have a look. That's how it's grown to be a 2-year process. Hey, Adam. Morning.
Quickie question.
Yeah.
The reader of the book, you've given some indication you've got somebody. I just wanted to put some people forward. Peter Jones, as of he narrated that book. What's it called? Oh yeah, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I think that'd be quite a good call. Or if he was unavailable, maybe Patrick Stewart.
I mean, I haven't got the spare. Let's get this Patrick Stewart. I would suggest that for Patrick Stewart to read my book, he would want minimum 20 grand. Now, that is lowballing by a massive, considerable margin. I would expect him to want a lot more. I'd expect him to get 20 grand for doing a toothpaste commercial. You know what I mean? But just to lowball, if he liked what I did and happened to love me, and his manager was like, look, he really, really wants to help you out, he'll do it for 20k. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Patrick Stewart, yeah. No. The voiceover actor that's come forward is a friend of the show and likes me and has offered to do it for free. And is a professional voiceover artist. So it's like, you, a professional voiceover artist, want to do the book for free? Yes, please. I'll slap that hand off immediately. But I appreciate the humour of the idea of Patrick Stewart reading Welcome to Flat Earth, the ultimate reference guide.
Did you get the message I sent you about the guy that wants to translate it for you into Spanish? Ventriloquorum or something like that?
No, but I'd love to get that done as well. I mean, if that, of all the languages, no offence to everyone else, but Spanish would be the first one I'd do, right? For obvious reasons. So many Spanish speakers. So yeah, I mean, please drop me a line. Whoever that is.
I resent all the information to you. Yeah, the guy was really keen on translating it in Spanish because I think he's in Brazil. And he said, like, there's so many flat earthers there, and all they're getting is the feast of nonsense. So this would be very refreshing.
Yes, I'd love to get that done, and having a Spanish speaker. I mean, I speak a bit of Spanish. I don't far from fluent. Teach my kids Spanish, but I need somebody professional in terms of translating, so that they can get the sentiment across in a different language. I need somebody who's. I would ideally hope for a native speaker to do that. To do that job. In other words, you'd want English to be their second language, so that they absolutely nail the sentiment. I'd be really concerned about that. That'd be something else. You're stressing me out, Neil. I'd really worry about that, actually. Whoever the guy is, right? I'm sorry, I don't know your name. I've only just been informed of this, right? I appreciate it, but that would heighten my stress level because of what I've just alluded to. Upon translation, I'd concern myself that it would lose something potentially. I'm not saying it would, but potentially you could lose some of the sentiment, some of the notions that are quite complex that are being put across in English. You don't want any of it to get lost in translation, right? It's critically important that it remains contextually perfect. So I would sweat that a lot. You know what I mean? It'd be like, oh my God, I better brush up on my Spanish so I can get involved in this because I don't want it to be wrong. It's like now, it's one where, as much as you and Brian take the mickey, it's not even your book. Well, QE and Adam do their thing. And yes, they've had a lot of input. But my point isn't that it isn't my book. At this stage, it absolutely is. But I'm still hanging around, listening and paying attention, even when I'm ill, right? And I'm sure you noted that, right, Neil? When at the one point that QE went, is our absentee landlord actually here? And then said by name, are you here, Nathan? You got, yeah, I am here. Right? Because I'm paying
Yes, the
attention.
guy's from Spain. I'm sorry, he's not from Brazil. He's from Spain. So that means he's very affluent in the Spanish language. You know, that means he must know Spanish pretty well.
Of course, and I'm not worried about
Because he's
him
really
not
good.
knowing. Let me just make that clear. I'm worried about me not knowing. In other words, I'd want a Domino's pizza. Can I help you? Just one sec. No, we don't do them with meatballs. No. Try Papa John's, thanks. Thanks for the super chat. What was it? Morgan Freeman? What? Misfit FB850. Thank you very much for the super chat. Morgan Freeman reading it would be epic. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's everyone's first choice for any voiceover work or any read of anything ever. Morgan Freeman would be everybody's first choice. Let's just be honest about that fact, right? Can't get Darth Vader. Got what I was babbling about now. Yeah, I'd sweat not his understanding of Spanish, but mine, Neil. I'd want to sit through it like I'm sitting through it in English. You know, rain or hail or sunshine, I'm there in sickness or in bad health, trying to listen to what's going on, to pay attention. Because if there's something that I find egregious or won't want to read or won't want to justify if I'm being interviewed, I need to know it's been changed or altered by Adam or QE as it's happening. Now, it doesn't require me to give a great deal of input while it's happening, but it does require me be there and pay attention and know what the alterations are, at the very minimum. Now, I'd want to know that in Spanish, which is definitely not my first language, but still I'd want to sweat the process. You'd want to know that it was done the way I wanted it to be at the end of it. And by extension, all the people who've helped me, like QE, I would therefore represent them in terms of making sure that what they've polished, that you don't want any of that gleam to come off in translation, right? And I've kind of got a certain degree of responsibility to make sure that's the case if it gets translated into a different language. So it's not like I'm going, I'm worried that you can't speak Spanish properly. No. I'm worried about me not being able to understand how it's getting translated and if any context is getting lost. So I'd be quite worried about that.
Yeah, not also that there's a lot of Globers who speak English and they still couldn't really understand most of the concepts.
I don't know. How do I say this without making all of our opponents feel like I'm complimenting them? I think... How shall I put this? Let's just come out with it. You've got to be slightly more intelligent than your average baller to be here trying to get pain relief. In my humble opinion, that does infer that your average baller here watching us is smarter than your average Dumbo, normie, flurf who isn't here. That it's too much for them to bear. So...
Nathan, I just resent everything to your private messages, so when you get a chance, look over it. And I understand your concern, but we have to trust God. We're doing a good work here.
Yeah, speaking of which, I watched a video. What was it called? Dangerously Anointed, I think was the title of the video. And it's another one where, reminiscent of Math Powerland, it just played. Now, I don't know if I fat-fingered my way to the video or if it just ended up on autoplay or what, or if I selected it. I can't remember how I ended up watching this particular video. But being titled Dangerously Anointed, I feel will direct the audience sufficiently to find this video, which I'm not going to look up now, because I can't do two things at once. I'll put my iPad back down. So I'll just keep talking about it. It's one of those, there's lots of people who like to use Denzel Washington when they're making a hard-hitting point in a video that's narrated by AI. So you get a lot of Denzel Washington videos out there. But this particular narrated by AI Denzel Washington video about being dangerously anointed was talking about people who find themselves with, I don't want to say violent opposition, but strong opposition are, in the view of this particular videographer, often on a path set by God, and recognition of the struggle and strife. And in the video, there was even examples given using Jesus Christ himself in terms of the struggles and opposition that he faced as the Son of God. So when you put that into context, you go, yeah, being braced against and finding yourself with what seems like very difficult obstacles to overcome, for example, but not limited to the censorship we face here on YouTube, 71 people watching. At that point, 71 people watching, I now start thanking the people in the chat for sharing the show. I know that number's only been achieved by people hitting the share button. So thank you very much, people who are sharing the show. I really appreciate it. If you haven't shared already, that's why we've got 71 people watching for you to chat in the chat room with. Please share the show if you've not done so already. Again, I've lost my track talking about the fact that we've got 71 people watching. Oh yeah, the egregious censorship. Why would we need to be censored? Why would we have the most crass and despicable, despiteful, horrible opposition to what we do here? Well, that's because we're bracing against the control of man in a world that they don't control. The men who think that they can keep the whole of society under control with lies like heliocentrism, they're not going to be seeing eye to eye with God, let's just put it that way. And they need people to oppose them. So who's God going to put in their path? Well, in the case of this video, suggestions, people who are dangerously anointed. And in that case, it's us, with what we do and what we have standing in our way. And the path that is opposed by many when we tell the world Earth is measured flat, exactly as it presents itself and is measured. Well, that has led to many a flurf being told what they should be or should not be doing in terms of reproduction, let's just say. Or how their time here on the face of the flat Earth we measure should perhaps come to an end. Things of that nature. You get the general idea. That's what we have to put up with as flurfs for telling the world that it's measured flat when it is. Well,
Yeah, I agree. It's like when you said going back to basics of science, doing what you're doing. Why I say, you have to trust God, because I believe we're doing God's work, because there's no ball in the Bible. So we're getting back to basics. We're taking back Genesis in the beginning, what happened, how it was created, what were we created on, that it is flat. So that's important. That's why I keep saying, mind your tongue. Let's keep it proper. We don't need to use the language we used. Just telling them that Earth is measured flat is pouring enough salt into their wound.
I'm not out to pour salt into anybody's wound, though. That's not what I'm about. I mean, I've picked a subject matter for almost selfish-seeming motivations, right? I want to feed my family. It's a job. And I want to be a YouTuber, and talking about flat Earth is a evergreen subject. These are my justifications for covering the subject. Now, as it happens, I'm met with opposition that's stronger than expected for this evergreen subject. So I've got evergreen opposition. Okay, well, why am I on this path? When I pick something to specialise in, a bit like with microphones, it just ends up being something that you end up doing. I ended up going, flat Earth, yeah, that's an evergreen subject in a overcrowded videography world of computing and programming and stuff that I could potentially do that already had hundreds, if not thousands, of videographers already making videos on the subject. Strictly speaking, the same is true of microphones now. The fact that I've got a ready-made audience that some of them are going to have an interest in mics, so I can actually have a modicum of success with a different subject, is nice because I've got an audience. But if I was to start out on the path of videography with microphones, I'd have failed miserably. I wouldn't be doing it now. I can do it as a sideline because I've built up a flat Earth community around me, amidst the censorship. So even carving out a tiny degree of success on YouTube with an incredibly dedicated community, is a win. Now, is it the typical outside onlooker's view of a win on YouTube, nah, that would be me having 1 million subscribers, wouldn't it? And the ad revenue keeping me in a Lamborghini. That would be a win by the view of the outsider. But that's not very humble, is it? Yeah? That doesn't keep me close to my family if I'm out driving a Lamborghini, potentially killing myself, wrapping it around a tree. So, as far as I'm concerned, I get by, and it's just enough. And I do appreciate the life I do get to have. I'm extremely privileged having enough financial support to homeschool my kids. That's a huge financial burden. Now, I'm not going to bleat about that. I've very much made that decision along with my wife. And I am absolutely privileged to be in that position. Most people, when they get old, go, oh, I wish I'd spent more time with the kids. I'll never say that. The little sods. I'll probably say I wish I spent less time with them. No, I'm only joking. I love them both dearly. But I'm lucky to be spending all the time I get to spend with them, even though I'm poor. Maybe that's partially, one of the reasons why I should say, are so poor. But we're blessed to watch our kids grow up, as most people bundle them off to school so they can do the 9 to 5 to keep the money keep coming in a fashion that they deem societally acceptable. Now, am I below that? Probably. I don't know if I was to assess it based on people included below the poverty line here in the UK. And I'm certain there's people worse off than me. Therefore, I'm probably just average, right? Why bleat? Get to see my kids all day. I'm a videographer. I'm sat in a nice comfy chair in front of a camera talking about my book that's getting written and my multiple streams of revenue that aren't quite enough. I should get over myself. You know what I mean? So that means that God's looked after me. I should be more grateful.
Well, I take it back. Not that you're pouring salt into their wound, just the fact that it is salt in their wounds. You can't get around it. It's measured flat. They know it. We all know it. They fight against right angle triangles. I mean, that's retarded. But it's salt in their wound because they know that Earth is not a globe. Never was.
Well, it's not about making that the subject matter. The subject matter has been turned into whether or not a counterpart, opponent, us, flat earther, believes Earth is flat versus the belief that we're on a ball derived from flat Earth measurements. If you can make it as little about Earth being measured flat and as much about belief and how a reified into existence based on flat Earth measurements globe may or may not work, then everyone's arguing about it, which is far better than just taking the loss immediately because we point out that's how Earth's measured, that's flat. So the guys that want to deny it, the guys that you're saying, in this example are the guys in pain, right? Ball-believing counterparts that deny it. You used Dawn Treader in the example in the pre-show. Well, those people are just normies, and they find and invent more and more complicated ways to project their misapprehensions or concerns about their belief in what they think the world should be, a ball, onto us, and reversing the burden so that we concern ourselves with their concerns. That's what the game is. Now, moving forward, and the book will mark this in history, there's an end point where we go, there isn't a debate. There wasn't ever a debate. The only reason to have flat Earth as a subject matter at all is to create the illusion of a debate. Because without the illusion of a debate, you've just got an Earth that's measured flat. With the illusion of a debate, you've got a debate and then a justifiable reason to cognitively suggest that Earth is only measured flat because it's so big and ball-shaped. But you can't have people cognitively do that of their own volition unless there's an idea that the belief of a ball versus the belief of a flat Earth is affirmed by measuring Earth flat only because it's a really big ball that we can measure at 8 inches per the mile squared curving. But unless it's practically applied to the flat Earth because it's really big. That kind of do-si-do round in circles cognitive dissonance is only achievable if there's a perception of a debate. Therefore, you need players in a debate. You need Simon Dan, you need Dave, you need Jaron, you need Whitsit, you need Professor Dave, you need Dave McKeegan. You need all of these players to play the game. What are we? We're not players. We're not even the
No,
referee. Go on, go on.
we just point out that Earth is measured flat, and that's the problem. See, when did all of this crazy stuff start happening? Right when we got down to bad measurements, because when you measure something, you know, right? Once we started constantly bringing that up in every show, we talk about the measurements. All of a sudden, now you got this 24/7 flat Earth, sun constantly in Antarctica, right? Now you got this. Now you got that. Now they're coming out with this. It's like a game. When a team is losing, they try all different tactics to try and get back into the game. And that's what they're trying now. Why didn't all of this stuff happen
I get you,
before?
but I say there is no game for us. So the illusion that there's a game to be had is what going to Antarctica, measuring the sun above a horizon that's flat for 24 hours does. Us saying you're measuring the sun above the horizon with elevation angles that are flat Earth prerequisites. You're travelling in a direction that's flat Earth only, south. All of these distances and journeys take place on Cartesian grids that you measure and travel through, that are necessary to find your way around the world, as we do. You know, we measure and travel, navigate, fly, sail, flat. That's how the world's dealt with. Us saying that doesn't work, doesn't create the illusion of a debate that's being had. All right, well, we've proven the world's a ball. We now know that we believe it to be so correctly because we saw the sun for 24 hours. That's only possible on a ball model. Therefore, Earth's the ball model. The ball model that came into existence based on flat Earth elevation angles to the stars. That ball model. Yeah, Earth's measured flat to create that ball model. Why would you want to reify that into a world that you're standing on when you can't stand on it? You only stand on it if you stand in it, if you understand how it works. The idea that we're standing in a ball with the stars wrapped around us is a reasonable mathematisation of the patterns that the lights in the sky create. When we measure Earth flat with them, we can create a ball and suggest that that model is a way of tracking and looking at the stars. But you're reifying it and saying we're standing on it? No, we're not. We measure Earth flat. We navigate Earth flat. We build on Earth flat. We sail across Earth flat. We fly over Earth flat. So what the bloody hell are you babbling about, you religious fundy zealot? Oh, you want to believe the Western world culture's control mechanism. And when you defend it, you become that bleeding empath that's being controlled by some narcissist, making apologies for the lies of the narcissist. Well, the Western world's controlled by the religion of heliocentrism, and that filtered down from the church garbage, reified into existence that we can stand on rather than in, is apologised for by many. And when we say, well, your apologies for this world that we can't stand on, only in the maths of Copernicus and heliocentrism, requires we measure Earth flat, we get condemned. Because it doesn't comport with the world that they're told, at a surface level, no pun intended, is capable of being stood on when curving, but ultimately still measured flat, but that's because it's only, a really big ball. That kind of crap. We don't play that game. We haven't played it for about 2 years. We go, no, Earth's dealt with flat, measured flat, sailed on flat, built on flat, navigated flat, charted flat, flown over flat. So what part of that is curving isn't a question we need to ask.
No, but it makes us public enemy number one. And that's why they're doing all these little tactics to make it appear like there's still a game, there's still a fight, there's still a debate when there is none. Earth is just measured flat. Get over it. How many times did Jaron say it the other day? We went over his video. Every other word out of his mouth was measuring Earth flat.
Yes. So us pointing that out isn't going to be conducive. You asked me the other day if Jaron responded to my message. I've still got an open line of communication with Jaron Campanella, and he has ignored me, saying, would you like a debate now you're a baller? Now he can't have one, because what's he going to do? Agree with me? Earth is like a Home Depot. We just don't appreciate how big balls are. What, when we measure Earth flat? No, I'll just point out that we measure Earth flat to Jaron. He'll agree, and then I'll ask him to give me a measurement that isn't flat, and he won't have one. And that'll be the end of the discussion. Any creation of an illusion that we have calculations will all require flat Earth measurements. We've already pointed them all out. Here's a diagrammatical example of how a Polaris measurement for latitude would be capable of description from within a ball, not on a ball. The latitude system takes place with respect to a flat plane of reference. That's how the world has been charted and mapped. That's how we found the new worlds. That's how the world is dealt with. Now, the fact that you can create an illusion of a ball wrapped around it and paint a map onto it doesn't mean that you can reify it in the way that the Western world currently does, and then projects their fear of it not really being that ball that we don't stand in hell. What do I mean, if you don't understand this? Look at any depiction of orbital motion. The world as a ball moving around the sun is a Copernican invention by the church. Now, that invention requires that the mathematical description of Earth as a sphere moving around the sun has the direction, orientation, and plane of reference through the middle of the ball. Not on it. That's not how orbital motion works. You're taking elevation angles from within a ball to a celestial dome that's also been mathematized from two planes, the sky and ground. Now you can create a compass view of the star that's at the horizon at 0 degrees and behind you at 180. Then you've got an effective protractor view of the angles to every star in your vicinity over and around your field of view. Now, if you create that as a star map and project the world that is flat and measured as such onto a ball that you've created around you, you've effectively painted a map onto the compass you measured the stars with. That's all you've done. But the world must be measured with those angles on a flat plane to create the plane that moves around the sun. You're talking about a plane of reference in the centre of a ball that has a map painted onto it, moving around the sun. That's why the line, the circle that's going around the sun, goes through the middle of the ball Earth you think you're standing on. That's how the motion's described by Copernicus. Inside a ball. Why? Well, because the origination of the angles to create that view were taken from the plane inside the ball that you've now got moving around the sun. That's where he gets his elevation angles to the stars to create that inference of heliocentrism. So you have to retain a plane of reference inside the ball that you can't stand in and call the globe and think you're standing on. These are all advanced heliocentric understandings that we have got to understand by appreciation of the Earth that is measured. Flat. In all instances, for everyone without exception. We understand this, and therefore there's no debate. Earth just is a flat plane. That's how we measure it and deal with it. Functionally. That's how we operate upon it.
And that's why all you Witsit fans, there's no excuse for you, because he could have ended the argument right in the beginning, and he never did. He never focused on the measurements that Jaron kept going to.
It's a little weird. First of all, good morning.
Hey, Chocolate.
Hi. It's a little weird that you described mathematics as stating that they're taking elevation angles from the middle of the ball. Well, that's slightly off, because people that take these elevation angles and people that define what elevation angles are all say that you're taking it from the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. So that wouldn't be in the middle of the ball. That would just be on the ground, on the surface, right?
Yeah.
Why would their mathematics say we're taking it from the middle?
To explain epicycles, turn them into, what do they call it now? Retrograde motion?
Yes.
When obviously they understand they're just taking an elevation angle from the surface.
No. Half the people who defend the ball and tell us we're wrong have no idea about advanced heliocentric measurement of elevation angles to create planes of reference moving about the sun, explaining epicycles. Nobody would know that. Nobody would know the transition from geocentrism to heliocentrism or what it achieved. Nobody would understand the calendar's creation, the designation of all of these time periods, chunks of time, days, weeks, months. Have any of them looked into the Council of Nicaea that I'm currently being educated in by Adam because of my woeful lack of knowledge on this particular part of the book that's being written? Probably not, me included. I'm only just finding out about it. But nevertheless, the point being, there's advanced heliocentric understandings to how the process that creates the angles, that creates the models that can be put mathematically in motion around the sun to explain epicycles with retrograde motion is something that we all appreciate. More importantly than any of the advanced heliocentric understanding is the flat Earth that's being bleeding measured. That's the first thing that happens, isn't it?
Well, everybody will understand when they buy a copy of that book called Welcome to Flat Earth by Nathan Oakley.
So yeah, I mean, it'd be good if I can get in touch with that guy that you've put me in touch with, because if we can get a Spanish version out at the same time, it'd be nice to have it released with an audiobook and multiple languages all at the same time. That'd be so cool.
I can speak the double Dutch one.
The double Dutch.
No,
I'll write that
Chocolate
down.
could speak the double Dutch one.
Yeah, the book will be around forever. And I would expect and anticipate going on a bit more of a tour basis once it's out. That's to say, I'll have more work.
A global tour.
Yeah.
Global tour promoting the Flat Earth book. That's funny.
Yeah, global tour. Exactly. I'm not afraid to talk about heliocentrism in this regard, right? If people want to call it a global tour, I'm like, okay, yeah, the fact that we've got a spherical representation of the known world that most of the Western world believe they're standing on, and that it is called the globe. And when I talk about it going all over the world to talk about my book, most of the Western world would describe that as a global tour. I can lean into that. In other words, it doesn't scare me being a glober. I tried to get this across a month or two ago, and it was just, the words weren't quite coming to me how I was trying to put it. You want me to be a baller, okay? I can enter into your paradigm and understand how it works. I can believe it with you if you like. You want me to believe we're on a ball? Okay. I'll stand with you on a flat plane and measure angles to create a ball for us to stand on together in imagination land. I'll explain it in great detail to you. I'm talking to you, baller. The one that wants me to be on a ball? Yeah, okay. I'll come with you into that fantasy land of ball and stand there with you. Yeah? We'll all understand how we got there too. Is that better than just saying, I'll believe I'm on a ball, Neil, which is how I tried to phrase it last time? I can believe as you believe. I can stand shoulder to shoulder. You want a Jeronism scenario where Jeron's back on the ball? Well, I mean, that might be a step too far for me. I'm not going to be capable of being on the ball. I can be in the ball with you. Yeah, I can do that. I can believe as you believe. And if you, the people projecting their pain onto me, telling me that I'm an idiot because I don't appreciate how ball-shaped it is, I can believe as you believe if you so desire. Yeah? And I can explain how we got there. Yeah? You want me to be a flat earther who believes in a ball? No worries. Yeah? If that's what you need to sleep better at night. What's that? You don't like the fact that I point out to get there I need a flat earth to measure first? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I don't mean to make you upset. But we do have to do that. That's just a prerequisite. It's a necessity. To get onto the ball, I mean inside it. Yeah? I can do that. You want me to be a baller? Okay. Yeah, I'll hold your hand and we'll be ballers together, yeah? No worries. I tried it a year ago with refracted curvature. I'm like, yeah, I'll be an advanced heliocentrist. And he was like, yeah. Refracted curvature, John. But then others on the panel were like, no, because then you're buying into the notion that we are actually of that ilk and belief when we're not. It's like, well, I want the world to understand that we appreciate...
Shut up.
Go on, Chocolate. I
Yep.
don't think he knows he's off
I
mute.
think
Okay, you're off mute.
Okay, I'll mute the whole panel.
the idea of the know your enemy like better than your friends, I think that's more what knowing the enemy as in knowing what they believe rather than just knowing them as a person.
Yeah, we have a good grasp on what heliocentrism is. When we entered into Flat Earth, we were amateur heliocentrists.
Yeah,
But we've
you
learned it
get
because
to
of...
know what they believe and then you can understand it better.
Yes, exactly. We know what they believe in terms of heliocentrism. We know how it came to fruition and what is required to believe in it. Therefore, we are better served to oppose that view or, as I'm leaning into now, embrace it with them. Oh, yeah, we'll embrace your ball belief. You want me to be a baller? You want me to, as you do, conform with the consensus of belief in a ball? Yeah, okay. Let's look at how we do that. Yeah? Where do we start? I mean, what do we measure? Sing it with me. Earth is like
Maybe
Home
that's why
Depot.
ballers get so angry, because we know things better than they do.
That's like Neil saying you want to, you know, what was it called? Pour salt into the wound. I don't want to do that. That's not my desire. I have no desire to make people feel bad.
No, I
It's
understand
because
that, but it just
we don't need them. The paradigm is already out there. The story already exists. It's not them that's our enemy. It's the story that's made to be what our reality is. So we don't need them. They're the representatives who have decided to defend this crap. They're not the real enemy. The enemy is just the story that's made to be our reality. That's the problem.
you just missed what I was saying. I'm not saying you're trying to pour salt in their wound. It just is, Nathan.
I mean, maybe. I mean, if you're saying as a byproduct, I don't know, maybe. Either way, my intention isn't to upset ballers, you know.
Yeah, but Nathan, it's not your intention. But when you're constantly stating the thing that ends their paradigm, what do you think?
I
Of
think
course it's going to hurt.
what I'm thinking, try and reverse the psychology of it. And instead of it being me pointing out the thing that ends their paradigm, point out that we can all appreciate together how my understanding of how Earth gets measured flat is actually the start of their belief. So let's embrace it together, because it's the start of their religion. I'll say I believe with you. I believe it's a bull too. Yeah, let's have a look at how we get to believe in a bull.
Oh, yeah, that's going to make them feel good.
But in the first statement, we're in agreement, right? Their first statement is usually, it's too big to measure the curve. Yeah, we agree with that. It's because it's not curved. But it takes a special certain somebody to go into that paradigm and say, after they've already said it's too big to measure, that they've actually measured. It takes a special type. And that we've dubbed those types the anti-flatties.
Yeah, Earth's flat. We know it. We checked. We measured. It's flat.
So do they. So did they. And that's the point.
And that's the salt. They're actually pouring it in on themselves.
But they brought the salt. That's their
I
own
know.
salt.
That's what I just said.
It's not our salt.
No, it is, but they're pouring it on themselves. Look, Karen poured it all over himself the other day. But with it, whether it's controlled, which it probably is, did not jump on it and hold him to the measurements that he just claimed with degrees and angles and heights.
Indeedy.
Nathan, how would that have went if you were sitting on the other side of Jaren? We should do that. Just put it on, and instead of Whitson answering, you answer. It would be over in 30 seconds.
Well, we did do that. So if you want to hear exactly that, go and check out Quantum Eraser YouTube channel and the most recent live stream from that channel, which is Ballbusters Live, which came out on Saturday. And that is precisely what we all did together, which is go through the Witsit and Jaren back and forth. What Neil's describing as a controlled back and forth is because there's multiple points where Earth gets measured flat, and it's brought up, whistled past, and utilised to question whether or not the justification of Jeran's now sphere belief is okay or not, without the it's flat and being measured as such being said at all. Neil's gripe.
Yeah, like Witsit could have said at any time, Jaron, you just measured it flat. Do you not realize what you just said? And he never did that.
No, if you can all measure Earth flat and then whistle past it and pretend that that's a ball proof, then everyone's good. Like this on screen. This is an elevation angle measurement of the sun. When describing how high the sun is in Antarctica for a 24-hour period with elevation angles as the description mathematically of the measurement taken, you will unequivocally require Earth be measured as a flat plane of reference to acquire an elevation angle to the sun to describe how high it is in the sky for a 24-hour period. Or to put it another way, Earth was measured flat in Antarctica by Jaron, by McToon, by Dave McKeegan, by the dude that's a Hollywood special effects guy, apparently a flat earther. They all measured Earth flat. Same with the guy that looked like the Fly, the bug guy, the baller, when he levelled his tool with respect to a plane of reference to measure in a downward orientation, also with respect to perpendicular, the weight of things. All required Earth be a horizontal plane of reference for a downward orientation for weight, perpendicular for the scale, the angle to the sun. These are all flat Earth measurements. So what is it we're talking about? Whether or not Earth's a ball in Antarctica? No. They all measured Earth flat without exception, we were pointing out before they even got there. And after the fact, after measuring Earth flat several times, what, Jaron's now a baller? No, he's a shill. So's Witsit. Because he ain't pointing that out. I'll point it out to the limited audience that I get. I'm struggling to gain 100 views in 10 years of videography about this subject as a specialist, as an expert. As the only people opposing these scumbags who tell you, Earth's a ball because we measured it flat with angles to the sun for 24 hours. So yeah, we are all dangerously anointed. We're on the path.
I like that.
Yeah, hopefully a few people will dig out that video. If not, I'll see if I can dig it out for tomorrow's show. I'll play a few sections of it. You get to hear AI Denzel Washington. Right, what else are we going to talk about? We've got about 10 minutes left. That's what I want to talk about with you, Neil. So the guy in the chat now, #1, Christian Chekus, how do you say it? Cekus. Zekus?
Christian Zekus.
Zekus. There you go. Got there in the end. When I asked, is he CC? I meant, is he the guy that Simon Dan responds to constantly?
No, he's not.
No, I know now. But that's what I was driving at. Because in the same way, Witsit seems to be the straight man for Jaron's comedy routine, this CC guy does the same for Simon Dan. He's there representing the stereotype twat flat earther for Simon Dan to brace against. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does seem that way, right? He's his Witsit. Everybody's got to have a Witsit.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think there are legit people out there, as much as we brace against Dave Weiss, who's just a money grabber. He's here for the dosh. Fair enough, that's his nature. But I don't actually think Dave Weiss is a shill. I just think he's a normal guy. Yeah? Now, as much as I can moan about him siding with the wrong team and therefore bracing against me, I could also look at it a different way and go, well, you've been indoctrinated and brainwashed by these shilly scumbags like Jaron and Witsit. And their whole purpose was to poison people, including people like Dave Weiss, against us. Therefore, the fact that the poison's set with Dave, yeah, you picked the wrong horse, didn't you? You backed the wrong one. Okay, everyone makes mistakes. But Dave isn't giving off shill vibes. He's giving off don't care, I will just do what I'm doing because it's making me money vibes. That is to say, he's not exercising discipline and learning the arguments to the extent that we would hope. But he simultaneously isn't working with some wingman like Jaren and Whitsitt or CC and Simon Dan. Yeah? Likewise, the same would apply on the other side of the opposing side. People like Dave, Professor Dave Explains. He like Dave Weiss, that is, these should have picked a better example, they're both called Dave, sorry. But both of them, I don't think, Professor Dave Explains is some government shill. He's just a dick. A dick on the opposite side, like Dave Weiss is just a dick on our side. Whereas Jaren, these people are shills. They're controlled opposition here, creating a narrative. And they're controlling the argument by having now a flurf and a glurf, both within the same camp, at the same freaking conventions. You're like, man, is this not really glaringly obvious to everybody on looking now?
Believe it or not, Nathan, it's not.
Go ahead, whoever that was. Somebody open their mic.
It is, that's all.
Oh, you're agreeing, Adam?
Yeah, but you're saying it's glaringly obvious, but it's not.
No, well, it wasn't obvious to me when I was trying to appeal to these people. I just lost sleep over it and got more and more frustrated. While everyone around me was like, they're just shills. What are you doing? Why are you wasting your time? People are going to start turning against you if you keep trying to align with them and appeal to them and get their arguments better. Give up, was what I was told. And I'm like, no, these people are here for the greater good. They've got a good... No. I was wrong. The whole time I should have listened. Well, everyone else, why wouldn't I not assume that they're no different to I when they're like, oh no, Jaren's a good guy. I can kind of see some of his... Yeah. That's the whole point, isn't it? As long as they all think there's an argument still taking place. And that's the illusion that's created.
Exactly. Adam, you wanted to say something? I'm sorry, I cut in front of you.
No, well, maybe I've literally just joined.
I meant the other Adam, but nice to see you, the Adam Meakin.
Afternoon.
Good evening, sir.
I see. The reason I just jumped in now, I'm at work, was I'm literally about to log on and just listen and realise the time to see that Ranty's brought Nathan Oakley's book, Welcome to Flat Earth, is total rubbish.
Oh, did my computer
He's a
crash?
piece of crap.
You cracked
Well,
at
is it
the end of your
interesting
statement, Adam.
that
Can you
he's
say that
out
again?
there?
You broke up in the middle of that statement. One more time, Adam.
And said, auditing the absurd. Well, Nathan Oakley's book, Welcome to Flat Earth, is total rubbish. Now, whilst we both know he couldn't be a qualified opinion because it's not out yet, isn't it nice that ex-flat earthers, well-known Masons like Ranty, are out there already before it's even hit the shelves, publicising the book for you? I'd just like to thank Ranty for the views that he's had, just pumping out your book already. He must be desperate for it to hit the shelves, mate. Obviously desperate to read it.
Yeah, that's funny how he can make a statement like that considering it's not out and he hasn't read one line from it.
And I have no opinion on this whatsoever. I don't really care. Again, Ranty used to frustrate me when it was on my side. Now I don't care. It's just some other dickhead baller, isn't it? Who cares?
Hey, he's using like childish ways to get you out and agree to some debate so he can make money. It's pathetic.
Okay. He's got bigger problems, right? I spoke to his missus. She phoned me up out of the blue about 5 or 6 years ago, after about a year of knowing Ranty, and spilled the beans on all sorts of embarrassing shite about the man. Hilarious. But again, I mean, literally who cares? The guy's a mess.
It's interesting that he returns, though, isn't it? But for another failed attempt back at it, shortly after everyone else was jumping on the, let's say, Oakley bandwagon. All right.
Where are all your mates,
You get
Ranty?
attention when you're over the target, don't you? And this, look at it. Look, you see, clearly it's triggering him, this book, isn't it? It's not even out, and people are making YouTube videos about it.
Awesome. Like you say, no such thing as bad publicity.
Well, there's 106 ballers who are now aware that you're bringing a book out, Nathan. Pretty sure Flat Earthers aren't watching them.
And they can't wait. I'll tell you what, groundbreaking. I can't wait. Let's get to work.
Indeedy. Right, any last remarks before we round out this live show? No? With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Jolly good. I don't want to have too long a show, after show, I should say, just because it's so freaking hot. Sitting here with the projector on, I'm already like half dead.
Need air conditioning.
In the UK,
Tired
hardly
too.
anybody has that. It's just not something we have. Do you have air conditioning in your shop, Adam? He's disappeared. I'll ask him later. Probably not. I don't remember him having aircon when I went up there.
But why is that? Because it's not hot that much, like a certain period of time. Like you don't get a good straight month of heat where you need freaking an air conditioner.
Yeah,
A
we get
month, you need a week if you're lucky.
exactly. It's not a month. It's a solid week that you'd need aircon for, and just most people will tolerate it for that week or two, and then the rest of the year it's not unbearable like it is currently.
It makes no sense to me because you could just shut it off. You don't got to keep it on. It's not,
not
hot,
worth it.
you shut it off.
It's not that. It's the expense to have it put in, for it to only be used a very limited amount of time in the year.
Yeah, the UK is basically raining 75% of the year, isn't it?
Nah, I mean, there are places in the States that have a higher average rainfall than here in the UK, but yeah, we're probably higher than the world average. We do get a fair bit of rain.
That's why it's so green.
Even when it's really nice and sunny, it rains. So over the last couple of days, sincerely. So the last couple of days, it's been absolutely sweltering with scattered showers.
Yeah, we've had a lot of
We
rain
had
in
a few,
Alabama, too.
Say again.
No, I was just saying we had a lot of rain in Alabama, too. Like it'd be sunny, and then 2 minutes later, it's raining.
we had a lot of tornadoes touch down in Saskatchewan because of the humid weather the last few weeks.
Well, that's good to know.
I know that voice.
Okay.
Hello, Neil. How are you, sir? Nathan, my condolences to you and your family.
Yeah, thanks. Well, that killed the conversation, Guns. Thanks a bunch.
But what are we going to do now, Nathan? I mean,
Sorry.
you killed
Well, what
it
can we
because
talk
Earth
about?
is measured flat. So what are we going to do now?
Yeah,
I
the
guess
book.
keep
We
saying
got
it.
the book coming out. Exactly. The book is coming out, and that's that.
There'll be a tour, Neil. That's what'll happen. It may take a little while to get in motion, but given enough time, people will buy the book. It'll filter through to other people, and then that'll be it. FED will be on the map. People will want to talk to us.
Well, as far as the Spanish thing,
Nathan-
I left you some messages. Hold on, Guns. I left you some messages just to send to me how he could get in touch with you. And then I'll send him a message to get in touch with you. And then you guys could deal with it then. It might be too early. I don't want to stress you out. But he is very excited about getting it in Spanish because the people in Spain are flooded with the feast of nonsense.
Cool.
Absolutely. I was going to say I'm going to buy a couple of hard copies and drop them off at the lodge. No, no, I mean give to a few friends. I'm sorry.
So what happened? Did Ranty come out and mention the book or something? Like Ranty came back or something? Well, I don't. What's going on, Ranty?
You gotta ask Adam. Well, he's back on some other name, and he's been in the chat. So he puts this challenge out to Nathan. He's got somebody that wants to debate him, I guess. And like, who knows? He's just trying to make money. I told Nathan, yeah, debate these guys for 4 hours, $2,000. You got it.
Well, I thought this was supposed to be a wrap. I thought the TFP, the final excrement. I mean, I'm sorry, the final experiment was supposed to put all this to bed. They're still out here scrambling for debates after the toy globe and the toy plane and all this. They're still scrambling, huh?
Yeah, and then this Witsit move, this Jaren move, they thought that was going to be the big one. Oh, once Jaren goes, there'll be a mass exodus. They're trying to make it appear like there's a mass exodus, but the word exodus means everybody leaves.
I don't know. All I
Most
know
of
is
Jaren's subscribers turned their back on him. Most of it's apparently.
Yeah, but turning their back on Jaren means that they've effectively disappeared, because it's not like they're disappearing and coming here. So it just means that they remove themselves from what was Flat Earth. Now, Flat Earth isn't Flat Earth. That's a group of people that were debating about their beliefs, as opposed to people like us who know Earth's flat. So having them go, well, we're going to desert Jaren, that's ideal. As long as Jaren hangs around and makes it seem like there's still a debate to be had with someone like Witsit. So if they do hang around, they see, oh, well, there's a debate. No, there isn't a debate. Is there?
Negative.
I agree. His plan worked then.
I think he
What's
just
the
keeps
point
going
of
through the motions. He
contention?
keeps doing it over and over again. He did it with Netflix, and now he's doing it with Antarctica.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he's a shill in place, ready to do it again. If he hangs around, he'll do it again in 2-3 years.
110%. The Globebusters gang, they're 90%. All of them were shills anyway.
Yeah.
To answer Chocolate's question about you thought it was going to be over, from what I'm hearing, it's in the works right now, and the documentary thingy for the 24/7 is coming out. And then when that comes out, it's over. So I guess we got to wait.
It's always going to be ended in the future. It's going to be finished by TFE. It's going to end it all. Well, now we'll need the new Lone Rangers to come along with the final experiment part 2. This time it's personal.
It'll never end.
Yeah, you need
Reality
to keep the illusion
doesn't
of
change.
the debate alive constantly. Exactly. It'll never end. Just the illusion of a debate being in place. New flat earth shills coming along to say, oh, it's all about how we don't see far enough.
Oh, the sun is a reflection of the dome.
It's the ether. Earth's rising. You need all this crap peddled by idiots calling themselves flat earthers. So it can be created as an illusion of a debate when we just measure Earth flat.
Yeah. Our major problem is the game is rigged. Like, the almighty power across the world, they're against us. So the game is rigged. It's a fight.
Yeah, but it's not a game, like Nathan was saying. We measure
Well,
it
you know what
flat.
I mean.
That's it.
But yeah, they've created the
reality.
illusion. What Guns is saying is they've created an illusion of a game, and that's the game that is taking place. So it's like, hold on, there is the football match has no consequence. At the end of the game, No king is appointed, no rules are set, no societal changes take place. It's just a football game. That's what Flat Earth is. A game with no
Squid Games.
consequences. Because
We're the participants in the Squid Games.
No, because there are consequences in Squid Games. You might die or get a load of money. In this, there's no outcome. It's just the only purpose is that there's a game created so that you don't notice that the football pitch has been measured and built on a flat Earth. As long as there's a game taking place, people watch the game.
There is an outcome. There is an outcome.
Yeah.
It's the one they were concentrating on, the one that was supposed to happen after the TFE, right? What did they say? Oh, we have so many people coming back to the globe, right? That's the point of their little game, and that's why they're scared, because people at the end of this, what you call the game, can decide that I no longer live on a magical spinning water ball, and that is what scares them. Because enough people start thinking like that, then they're the ones who become outnumbered, and that's very scary for them. Because their numbers is what
Well, if
is what keeps them
sorry, go ahead, John.
sleeping.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's their numbers that is what keeps them comfortable, and they have their nice, comfortable teddy bear at night, right? If those numbers were to start to dwindle, they would have big problems.
Like I said, if 80% of the population suddenly woke up and saw reality for what it is and saw all the lies and they woke up, there would be a problem for them. But it'd have to be all at once. It's like a sudden awakening. Well, even 50% of the population, it'd cause a rift in the reality or in the whatever paradigm.
Well, what's the first thing that would happen? Say tomorrow people wake up, 80% of the world realizes Earth is flat. What's the first thing that's going to happen in the States?
Gonna eat pancakes?
First thing?
Pancakes with bacon.
They're going to make a move toward NASA. They
No.
want to know why this has
Yeah,
been going
NASA
on.
would
If you
be the-
knew all along that
Yep.
Earth is flat, then what the hell are our tax dollars going? And what have you been doing
Yeah.
since 19 whatever, 60 something?
Yeah. Like a revolution, basically. I don't know if people are too complacent to maybe revolt, but there would be a rift for sure of some sorts, especially like you said, NASA and the government. They're gonna, what the hell's going on here? We've been lied to for thousands of years, or well, 550 years. Like
Well, the schooling
they have the
system,
guns. That's the only problem is they have the firepower to just to like what do you call it? Martial law and eliminate all the people that turn against the government. That's what they
And
do.
look how,
It'd be
look how much
worldwide.
well, it
look
don't
how
have to
much
go
they
all the way
embrace
to that.
against that. Look how much they embrace against that risk. Even if you even starts to cause a slight ripple, right? Even the people who still believe they live on a ball, but no longer go along with the story of we went to the moon and brought a car, a dune buggy, and played golf, right? Look how those people are shown. Even by the same when they have the same belief that they live on the ball. So that's just the beginning. What if it went further? That's what's dangerous for them.
Yeah, and what about, who else would be upset? People sending their children to school. They're not being taught 2
Academia.
+ 2 is 4. They're being taught, what's this heliocentrism then? If Earth is flat, then why are my children being taught heliocentrism?
Yeah, exactly. There'd be a rift in the tide, definitely.
That's why they're controlling it. They will control when the world will know Earth is flat.
Exactly. How they're gonna do it is they're gonna change a paradigm that benefits them and it appeases the population. They're gonna come out with, like, maybe when we're dead, maybe in 100 years, they're gonna come out with
No,
some.
I don't think so. Not that long. See, we're speeding up the process. I don't care what you say.
Yeah,
This
but
show right here, the
no,
things
but
we talk about right here, hold on. Speeds up the process. See, you go on mute. When I'm done, then you talk. I'm done.
no, you have a point there, but it's going to be a slow process. Like maybe 0.0001% of the population thinks there's something going on. It could take 50 years for even to get 50% of the population on board. Like I'm just guessing, right? I don't know, but
Yeah.
go ahead.
But what I'm saying is the book is what we're doing here, it may be speeding up the process. I don't think they realize that we would come to an understanding so quickly. I mean, within 10 years. Now we know Earth is measured flat. Got to do something about that.
Right, if you're in Discord, go to my watch page if you want to watch what I'm about to play. So this is Mark Sargent's video about him trying to create the Apollo landing in AI. So he storyboards it and then gives it to AI and asks them to reproduce it as a video. And this is the result.
Looks pretty good. Oh, let's bring in the astronauts and do some test shots.
That's not the one we're going to use, right?
No, this is just a stand-in. We'll be using a number of test vehicles over the next few years.
So why are there no stars again? Stars are always in a specific pattern. It's too complex to replicate.
So, no stars.
No stars ever.
What are you using for the ground?
It's a mixture of dark ash and sand.
How deep is it?
4 inches in some places, so don't go nuts with the shovel. So this rock should weigh 200 pounds on Earth, but here it's not even 40. Why can't I show that?
Feats of strength are tricky, so we're staying away from it.
So how does it work?
How does what work?
The spacesuit, how does it stop from expanding?
I have no idea. It just does.
We're a lot lighter here. Shouldn't we move faster? We tried that. Looks unnatural, so we're going to shoot you in slow motion. It'll work, trust me. Why does the lander look so different from the still pics? Because Google hates the guy who is making these videos.
Really?
It's a theory.
No, I'm serious. We keep generating these and none of them look like Apollo? I know, right. Even the flag is always wrong.
I think we may have found a new rabbit hole. Why would it keep putting tires on the lander? Are we going to hitch it to my truck?
Did the ash change color?
Yeah, I did that.
At this point, the content creator is going to have to show the still shots and narrate it himself.
And then we're out of a job.
Yeah, but only for a little while.
So I'm narrating this because, yeah, indeed, it looks like a rabbit hole where I storyboard everything in the beginning using VO2 and just using frames to video and putting in the prompts, and then looking at the storyboards, which look great, as you can see here, looked absolutely accurate. I didn't even have to put in Apollo 11 lander. I just said Apollo lander, and it drew it perfectly every freaking time. And then I took cut and pasted it straight into VO3, tried to add a little dialogue, and the lander just got torched every time. I could not get it to do it. So then I said, all right, well, maybe I'll put them outside. So I took them, put them outside, look fine, still shots, translate to video, lander gets screwed up again. This isn't a copyright issue. This isn't a violation of service issue. This is somebody putting some code in there. They do not want us to make fake Apollo lander videos. Call it what you will. You want to make a response video to it, be my guest. Anyway, back to it.
I mean, the prompt is so specific. It's like they do not want me to show how easy it is to fake the moon.
How about moonshots without the soundstage?
Yeah, let's try that.
What did I tell you? This looks great, but it's still fake, so why can't I add a soundstage?
Why are there stars? Because there should be stars.
That's my favorite line.
Find no stars. Happy now?
Yes, but how did we get here?
The lander's over there, and guess what? It still looks wrong.
That's it. Did you all enjoy that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
My favorite
Good
part
old
was
Mark.
how do we
Good
stop the
old
suit from
lovable Mark.
expanding? I don't know. It's just it'll just do it. Trust me, bro.
Just like Mark's sense of humour. So even when he's storyboarding this, he's obviously put in the foreshadowing. There's no way AI would come up with that. That's Mark. So he said at the beginning of the clip, before his VO, why can't we have stars? That's part of the script. And then after his VO, why have we got stars? Because we're supposed to have stars. Which is brilliant.
Exactly. Yeah, that was pretty brilliant, actually, you have to admit. I was interesting when Mark mentioned that if you punch in this certain information, it'll get blocked. It's like they have a program that blocks attempting to mimic or whatever the landing gear, the moon lander.
That's because I would go back to the moon in a nanosecond, but we've destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to bring it back.
This NASA thing is right up my alley because my cousin, you guys are probably sick of hearing this, but he was involved with miniatures and miniature space shuttles and satellites that are spinning, coming out of cargo bays, and like suspended with invisible wires, and then a visual effect in the background. He was involved in all that. I shouldn't be saying this, but that, you guys know that. So this is right up his alley. You know, decades ago, dozens of those guys worked for NASA, doing all this, like all this bullshit videos we saw. The ones where you can tell they're miniatures or whatever. Yeah,
What's his
he had his
name?
hand in that. I can't give you his name. Come on. He's a big Mason too. I can't.
So wait a
I'm being
second. I
vague,
could go
right?
look at the credits. Wait a second. You're telling me he does all of these movies. So
So
what is he
look
under
at
an
the credits
alias?
of
Under the
all the
credits?
movies. Yeah, if you look at all these movies and you look in the credits under FX and all that, you might see him. He might come up in a lot of movies, but I can't give you his name. Yeah,
What do you mean I
that would
might
be
see
good
him?
for
Is
him.
his name on the credits or not?
Yes, tons
Okay.
of movies.
Then I'm going to find out who he is.
You do that. Neil, you do that, yeah. I can just say his name, but that's like you're doxing my cousin who was involved with a lot of stuff back in the day. So, okay, look up. Okay, here's one movie, Transformers. Just look up FX department. There's like 300 people worked on that movie, FX, or Iron Man, or Thor, or Captain America, Blade, uh, Last Boy Scout, Die Hard, Sphere, The Abyss, Twister, Titanic. There's a few. So
A few
he
what?
shows up on
Why?
every
I
one of
missed that.
those.
Why are you rattling off these movies?
Well, my cousin worked on them, and like Neil said,
He worked on all my favorite. Loads of those are like my favorite movies.
well, name a movie. Yeah, he's worked on hundreds. I'm serious. Okay, name a movie. The Avengers, the first one. What else? Okay, I said Captain America. Just name a movie. Okay, what's that one? Ruthless People. Uh, the Birdcage. Robin Williams. Uh, a whole bunch of TV series like the NYPD Blue and the Shield and you know uh, Sons of Anarchy, uh, Alias, uh, whatever the Angel one, whatever her name was, Black Angel or whatever. Just name a movie, Nathan. Name a really good science fiction movie or action movie that you saw in the last since the '90s or '80s, '90s,
Inner Space.
2000. Oh no, Inner Space. You didn't. That was with Dennis Quaid or Martin Short. Yeah. He didn't work on that one. He's worked with Arnie, Total Recall, the original, and the remake. Total Recall and Terminator 1 and 2, which you like Terminator for sure, right?
Yeah.
Priest. Priest. That was a good one.
Sounds like most of them are by Industrial Light and Magic. So if he works for that company, then I'm going to find his name.
Yeah, he was the head of a few departments, but I can't tell. I won't tell you which ones, but you'll see him in there. Okay, there's 5 departments: pyro, electrical, special, visual, and miniatures. Independence Day, all those the little White House and all that, the buildings they blow up from the original Independence Day.
Okay, cool.
Miniatures. Yeah, so a lot of movies have miniatures, and he's involved with that. But there's hundreds of people worked on these movies, at the same time, like in FX departments, because they're so elaborate, right? Expensive, high budget movies. I'm just trying to think of just ordinary movies like comedies. What did he work on? Ruthless People was pretty funny. I think Danny DeVito was in that.
I like the name of it, Industrial Light and Magic. Stan Winston.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Believe it or not, my ex-wife's brother, they're my ex-wife's brother's cousin, but they're together. They own one of the biggest stage companies in the world, and out of Nashville. And they do like Taylor Swift concerts. You name it. Anyway, if I give that name, that might give that away. Oh yeah, it's okay. It's my ex-wife. It's called Global something International, but they do like all the concerts and stuff. They're really big. They have a Facebook page and all that. But yeah, so my ex-wife is a costume designer. So, and then I have a cousin that they don't even know each other. The cousin that worked in Hollywood. So I was just born into this stuff. So that's why I know all this bullshit, It's just, just by luck or whatever. But, yeah, anyway. What other movies? Just name a movie, Nathan. One of your
Battery's not
favorites, because
included.
in the '90s they had a lot of good movies.
Battery's not included.
Pardon me?
Battery's not included.
I'm not getting you. Is that the title? What?
Yeah.
Yes.
What?
Title
No,
of
I
the movie,
never.
batteries not
Sorry,
included.
I've never heard of it. I don't think I've never heard that one for sure. I should have, but I
That's
never
from the
heard that one.
80s.
Oh my God! If I saw it, it'd probably ring a bell. But okay. Oh God. Oh, Wyatt Earp. Worked on Wyatt Earp. Wild Bill. Like some westerns. Unforgiven. He's worked quite a few westerns. What else was there? Yeah, basically everything. Yeah, he's been involved like just tons of stuff. Just too many to name. Like he has so many credits. If Neil looks up a few movies, you might find them.
Industrial Light and Magic. I know that might not be his employer, but as Neil mentioned them earlier, they are heavily involved in rocket launches. Did you know that, Neil?
He's not in that company. No. Oh yeah, Flatliners. That's another one.
I couldn't hear you because Robert was talking. What'd you say, Nathan?
Industrial Light and Magic are also heavily involved in rocket launches. So those big lighting towers that are surrounding the rocket launches, Those are erected
Yeah.
by Industrial Light and Magic.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, I imagine. Yeah, they had a lot of companies working for them. You know, NASA did. So obviously, like you said, there's a connection there. Obviously, yeah. All I know is my cousin was making like 6 times union wages, like back then, way back then. They were getting 6 times. NASA was paying them. Well, NASA, they steal money every day. So they have unlimited funds, right, to pay these guys. He's getting like 6 times a union wage from Hollywood wage, and they get paid big in Hollywood. So you can just imagine. Insane.
That's some nice figures there.
My God. Well, yeah. Well, they're bringing in what 70 million a day or something like that. So, and back then in the 60s and 50s, 60s, 70s, they're probably bringing in 30, 40 million a day or something like that. Taxpayer money, of course. The game is rigged. We're screwed.
That's not what they're bringing in. That's what they're spending.
Yeah, spending, not bringing in.
Yeah, right. They're spending that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they're probably bringing in way more than that. Obviously,
Not bringing in anything.
Yeah,
Are
I
they
forgot.
bringing? What's their revenue stream? What are they bringing in?
We
Nothing.
don't even have a clue,
No,
really.
nothing. It's all outgoing. All of it.
Yeah, it's all made up.
Well, the outgoing is the salaries that they got to pay. Where's our Irish compadre today? Brian's Logic.
I don't know.
You think he missed a day again?
Maybe.
I'm trying to get a date of when this big production's coming out, the documentary of TFE. I cannot locate a date.
What documentary?
The final experiment. Because that's when the hammer's gonna come down and flat earth is gonna be ended, from what I hear, when the documentary comes out.
Cool. Will it include tunes screaming my name into the snow?
One can only hope. Wouldn't that be great if that's in there? He tried to deflect to measurements. You got some nerve, Nathan, trying to win with measurements.
Yeah, how dare I? If we're going to be using measurements, I should have just appreciated that we're dealing with a really big ball when we're measuring it flat.
You just don't understand large spheres. Nobody does, Nathan, according to Jaron.
How large? So large that you measure them flat? Is that the part we don't understand? I don't get it. We don't understand large spheres. The only reason you would say that is because it's not measured curved, right, Jaron? Mister, somebody who's actually said himself it's measured flat Earth. That is. So have fun with that.
Well, you won't find that anywhere because he deleted all of his shows. Gone. Unless somebody downloaded them or has them, which I'm sure we do. Kiwi's got a bunch of them. I mean, that is the stupidest thing you could do.
My phone was off. What's that, Neil?
Not at all. Means people can't go back and cross-reference his own nonsense and use it against him.
Are you talking about Jaron's videos?
Yeah.
Yeah, he deleted all of them.
Yeah, because he had some really great videos earlier on about NASA.
Nah.
He had tons of great videos.
No, he didn't.
I never liked his work.
No, but he did. He like his videos, like earlier on, basically he wasn't giving disinformation. He was actually being truthful. But that's when they probably got a hook. They hooked him in, eh? That's about 10 years ago. And then all of a sudden his philosophy just changed. He was like, laser beams through holes in the stick along a river or something. And then he had the fishing line 3 miles long, stretch it across the lake. And if it bows and sinks into the middle of the lake, then that means the Earth is a ball. And he had all these like outrageous what do you call it? Demonstrations he wanted to pull off. Remember over the years, just outrageous. Like
Well, he
they didn't
called them
make any
experiments,
sense.
didn't he?
Yeah, he called them experiments, but they're the one at the fishing line across the lake. Like, how retarded is that? He says, and you stretch it out, and if it goes into the water in the middle of the lake, that means the Earth is curving, bowing upwards or whatever. Like he says, then I'll believe it's a ball. He says.
Yeah. What he's saying is,
about 8 years ago.
He's creating the false dichotomy on our behalf. Oh, well, if it does this, it's ball-shaped. If it does this, it's flat. No, it's just measured flat.
Yeah.
But we've got a nice false dichotomy created by Jaron in that scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The space shuttle's fuel tanks, they're helium balloons. Do you remember that one? My God. He said, yeah, the space shuttle's, those tanks that come off, they're helium balloons. Yeah. He had some real outrageous stuff. Like he threw in a bunch of retarded stuff along with some good stuff, but there was a lot of retarded, just insane. The one with the laser beam through the holes in the posts, that was the most outrageous thing I ever heard of. And it was set up to fail, remember? It was set up to fail. Like, just so stupid.
I don't think it's even that it's set
Beyond
up to
the
fail.
Curve or whatever that movie was, or that documentary.
I don't think it's set up to fail.
The
It's set up
stupid demonstration he supposedly did. Oh my God.
Holy shoot, relax.
Set up to create the impression that there's a debate happening. Doesn't matter if it passes or fails. It's like the yardstick's controlled by them, and what's being measured isn't a flat Earth. It's the laser. It's just stupid, but it creates an idea that there's a debate happening.
We die, but maybe not Bob in Bob's case, but.
I agree 100%, Nathan. You're right. And they're going to push it even harder now that there's a debate. But like Refracted says, where's the point of contention here? Somebody trying to talk?
Yeah, someone's off mute. Is that you, Guns? Pop yourself on mute.
I think that might have been Chocolate, because I muted myself and I still heard that noise. So might have been Chocolate. I'm not sure, but
I
you're
would
right,
blame
Dale.
Chocolate. I just by default, I'm not even looking, but we're going to blame Chocolate.
Yeah.
Chocolate.
I went mute and I still heard that ruffling noise. Yeah.
Definitely not.
Are you there, Chocolate? Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, there he is now. It wasn't. So relax.
Blame it on chocolate. Hershey.
Yeah, the chocolate.
Oh, that's what's his face? Who that guy? You know that guy?
Yeah, chocolate.
That pink.
That's just
Yeah, that pink.
crazy lacism.
When is the next installment of the book, Nathan? Did we get an idea?
I should have asked last time we did it, but I was quite sick, so I didn't really ask. It could be today.
A lot of man hours, Nathan. A lot of man hours and going into this. What was it, 5 the other day? Go 5 hours.
Well, yeah, well, that's 20 hours, isn't it? Because there's 4 of us.
Yeah, I'm just hanging out listening. But yeah, it's. And there was a lot of times there was that many hours put in. People got to realize that when you're talking about the pricing, I heard you were saying somebody had a $10 book out. Yeah, you're going to get what you pay for. And when you buy this book, believe me, it's going to be worth every dollar. Because there's a lot of hours, a lot of time went into this book to get it right.
Yeah, it's the ultimate flat Earth book, the ultimate reality. This is all you need. Like any normie or whatever, that's the only book they need to get the truth of what reality is. Right, Neil?
Yeah, I was saying I should pull a Danny DeVito from Throw Mama from a Train and come out with a children's book before you come out with the baby book.
Yeah. I remember that, yeah. Neil, when you guys work on the book, what hangout or what site do you guys normally do that? Is it like
That's
private
confidential.
or?
That's confidential.
It's confidential, right?
What a load of crap. We just stay in the
Absolutely.
hangout.
If you stay in the hangout, there's a few rules. You must be quiet unless you have a pertinent point. And
There's
I
a
mean
few rules for
pertinent
Neil,
is-
yeah.
Well, I don't follow those rules. I follow them to the T, my friend, especially during the book, because I want this sucker out. Like I say, that's confidential.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Makes sense, total sense. Any idea of how many pages it's going to be? Like, is it's going to be like a Bible, like thick, or
Oh, at least 7.
Confidential.
at least
A
700?
page a day.
No, I said at least 7.
Oh yeah, 700.
No, 7. 7. I said at least 7.
7 chapters.
One a day.
No, I'm joking, of course. It took 7 days, one a day. God, creation.
Technically, it took 6 days.
Yes, yeah, technically it was 6. You're right. Day of rest. Was it Sunday?
It doesn't matter what day it was. There was one day when it was the day of rest. People are confusing
One
that
day of
today.
rest, yeah. So, here, do you remember back in the 70s and 60s at the end of a television day, what they do Saturday evening? They go, tomorrow is Sunday, the day of peace and the day of rest. Attend the church of your choice. They used to say that at the end of a telecast.
I do
End
not
of the
remember
day
that.
lives in the. Do you remember that?
I don't. We used to just get
Yeah,
that.
well, they used to. Yeah, and then we get God Save the Queen, the anthem. O Canada, and then God Save the Queen, and then O Canada at the end of every broadcasting day. And I remember seeing that a million times, because I'd stay up right to the end.
What you did have in
And
the
that,
70s and even part of the 80s was that everything was closed on Sunday. There
oh
was
yeah,
even
here
a
too.
law
Yeah,
where you couldn't
shops.
open on a Sunday.
Right. Yeah, it was almost like they were respecting the day of rest. You know, they were respecting it back then, and then employees didn't have to work. Right now, they're open every day.
Not Chick-fil-A. If you wanna buy into the Chick-fil-A franchise, you got a certain agreement that you cannot open up on Sundays.
Oh yeah. Are they a Christian outfit or what?
Yes, Nathan, have you ever had a Chick-fil-A?
No.
Really good. You would love it. The
Yeah, I've
spicy
heard good
chicken
stories
sandwich
about
is
them. We don't
great.
have it here. Yeah, we have Popeyes, and KFC.
Give it some time, you'll have it in the UK. In the States, everything comes from out west first, and it works its way to the east. They supposedly have the In-N-Out burger is coming to, I think, Georgia soon. That's what I've been hearing.
Oh. Yeah, you're right. Most of the big franchises originate from the United States, and then they head eastward. Do you have Fat Boy Burger?
Fat Boy
It's called
Burger. No.
or Fat Burger. No, it's Fat Boy Burger. It might be just a small chain. It might not be that big. Do you guys have Moxie's or the Keg?
No, the top burger place that came out now was what's that one called? The holy shoot. I forgot. Man, I'm drawing a
Do you
blank.
have Do you guys have Harvey's burgers? Harvey.
Yeah, Hardee's is good.
Oh, yeah. Uh, I'm actually right now. I'm sitting in the Burger King parking lot, and there's a Subway right in front of me. Subway restaurant, and there's a Tim Hortons. I can see the window, the takeout window from where I'm sitting. There's I'm at Burger King, obviously, and then you can
Before
see
I forget,
Wendy's.
you're talking about garbage burgers, Wendy's and Burger King. Shake Shack is the big thing now. Shake Shack is what McDonald's originally used to be. Remember in the early 70s and early 80s, McDonald's was the thing. I mean, when you got a Big Mac, you got a Big Mac. It was made fresh. Now it's all microwave nonsense. The only burger that got back on the grill is the quarter pounder. which you can get a quarter pounder that's still okay, but right now it's Shake Shack.
Shake Shack.
Yeah, it's 3 different parts of the cow that they use for the beef. And they don't want to franchise it too far because they're dealing with a certain type of beef that is in that area. So in other words, if it was, let's say if it was in say upstate New York, they're not opening one up in California.
All right. Yeah. So the farms, the cattle, the ranches are near the. Yeah, they produce there near the restaurants. Like that's where they get the beef from.
Have to use that certain combination of beef and anything else they won't let you open it. But Shake Shack there's lines when you go to get a Shake Shack burger, a Shack burger, you got to wait on line.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of great burger places. Nice big fat burger that they're like smaller chain, but they have a bigger product, like a nicer product. Do you guys have Fuddruckers?
Yeah, but
Burgers?
Fuddruckers, yeah, that's a chain of they have the games and everything in there.
Yeah.
What I like a good old fashioned White Castle burger. Give me a double cheese jalapeno
Oh my
from White
God.
Castles, and that's slamming.
Well, isn't that the place that if you ate a certain burger, it'd be free? Certain big burger or something? White Castle?
No,
You ate a
White
24
Castle is
ounce
the
burger
tiny
or something?
burgers.
Oh, okay. Okay, I want to tell you something. In the 80s, Fuddruckers here, they used to have the beef hanging right in the window. A big slab of beef hanging on a hook.
Chocolate's trying to get a word in.
It's disgusting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
From which one? The White Castle. Murder burgers. Love.
You know what made them good is though because they put the burger on the grill and they put the bun with the onions right on top of the burger, so the bun is steaming.
Oh,
slamming. They try to say that
you're
Crystals.
making me hungry.
Hold on, Guns.
Yeah.
Doug, you know Crystals in Georgia. They try to say that Crystals is like White Castle. Not a freaking chance.
Yeah, that's what I out. No. It was not. It was a close. It was a close. I don't know, runner up, I guess, but nah, not the same.
Hey, Neil, downtown, like New York City, there's some famous delis, hey? Like Italian delis. You know where they
the
have like
famous
a
delis,
like a $50 sandwich?
The famous delis are usually the Jewish ones, Cats. Right? Then you got Stage Deli.
I forget there's this one video on YouTube. The guy went into downtown New York, like in the main, the main area, whatever, and he got a sandwich, and it was like $50. It was like a submarine, like almost like a Philly steak sandwich, and it was like $50, and it was supposed to be like the best in New York or something.
Well, you could go to Cats, and
Does
I
that ring
know
a bell?
for a pastrami sandwich in Cats. First of all, they got like the way it's set up. They got like 7 or 8 guys, and they're called cutters. Now you got to go online, and you follow the line, and whatever cutter you get to, right? They got a tip cup there that's overflowing. And if you order corned beef or pastrami, depends on what you order. As they cut it up right there, they give you pieces to taste. And that sandwich is about $30 for a pastrami hero, but it's worth it, man.
Oh yeah.
And you have lines.
Is this Italian?
No, it's Jewish.
The Italians or Jewish? The Jewish. Oh, man,
Jewish pastrami. It's Jewish. Corned beef pastrami. That's all Jewish. Knishes.
Yeah.
Now, Italian delis, I've been
Oh,
hearing
that's,
about
yeah.
these Johns in Brooklyn for
John's
their
in
roast
Brooklyn.
beef sandwich, but I haven't tried it, so I don't know.
I guess a person can just go online and just look up the best places and to eat in New York City, like delicatessens and fast food.
Let's put it this way: you're not going to find a bad Italian deli.
Yeah, I went down it like here in Saskatchewan. There's a lot of Greeks and Italians that own restaurants here. There's a lot of good restaurants, but they pale compared to down where you live, probably.
What are you going on at this?
Potatoes, French fries, New York
That's
fries.
racist. Only we can do that.
Do what?
Hey,
Racist to
Brian.
Brian.
Oh, Brian
what
Zace. What's
famous
up, Brian?
food? I can't hear.
I don't know what you said, Nathan, because guns keep speaking every time you're speaking.
Yeah, guns.
I'm
Relax
sorry.
a little bit. See? I think he was saying maybe we can get into a different topic other than food since you joined. We were looking at your video in the beginning today, Brian, your latest one.
Yeah, we had a good laugh when you were like, you dragged out saying they basically have to deny triangles. It's just very funny.
Yeah, it's on the back of another one I made there a few days ago, where I was talking about how they have to measure the opposite of the triangle that they're denying exists. So yeah, I was basically saying that they're denying the triangle because they are. That's the only, do you know what I mean? That's what they're doing. An elevation angle for them in surveying is a triangle, but in celestial navigation, it's not, which is just stupidity. But really, it was about their stroma, because they keep trying to strawman us, saying, give us the height of, if it's a triangle, give us the height of Polaris, right? So to do what they're saying, first of all, they need to use the celestial navigation process to gain the distance along the adjacent from the GP, number one. And number two is they have to deny their own mathematics for that, for the use of celestial navigation. Because they must bring once the elevation angle is measured, where must they bring it? They must bring that and Polaris down, right? So the baseline of the elevation angle becomes part of their equatorial plane. So they're straw manning us with something as if they're straw manning us with a position that they know is not true. They know that Polaris and all the other celestial bodies do not behave like terrestrial objects. One person even said to me in my last video, I can't remember which idiot it was, but he said, "So Polaris is magic then, is a magic yo-yo then." And I said, "Yeah, pretty much. I can't. I'm not even disagreeing with you there. Polaris and all the other celestial bodies, you go up, you rise up, they appear to rise with you. You come back down, they appear to come back down with you. Daniel, the film doesn't change.
All the bullshit that they expect us to believe, and they're hitting you with, oh, so this is magic? You've got to be kidding me at this point.
Yeah, but the thing is that he tell you exactly like they believe. The difference is that all the stuff they believe, chocolate, isn't true. But Polaris does behave as if it's magic in comparison to terrestrial objects, and it does rise and fall with the observer. As in, you take an angle from sea level, take an angle to Polaris from the top of a mountain, and take an angle to Polaris from an airplane, all over the same latitude, and you're going to get north of the equator, and you're going to get the same angle. The same for the rest of the celestial body. You take
That's what I'm saying. Something like that is magic, but the fact that we're supposed to be sticking sideways to a ball spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, going around another ball at 66,600 miles per hour in a vacuum, all of that, no, that's kosher. But what you just said about the star just being able to take the same angle, no, that's magic. How silly are these people, bro? It's insane.
well. Look, the thing is, they have to claim within their paradigm that Polaris is basically holding a consistent geometric location in the sky. But if it was a consistent geometric location in the sky, like they needed to, because in their paradigm it does have a consistent geometric location in the sky. But if it's holding a consistent geometric location, then it can't appear to rise with me or fall with me. The joke, I mean, they're so hypocritical talking. They want to point at us as if we're crazy. Yet what they're claiming is insane. What they're claiming, but that's what they're dealing with. Total dishonest.
Well, they're programmed, eh? They're indoctrinated, programmed. So it sounds like Chinese to them when you tell them the truth, the honest, reality, and to them it sounds like Chinese, like you're speaking Chinese or something. They don't believe it.
Well, what they are is terrified. That's what they are. They're terrified of us being right.
Yeah.
They're terrified of them being wrong. And we are right and they are wrong. And that's the problem. But I'm okay with pointing that out to them and even giving them a hard time about it. Because it's been 10 years and we don't have the rest. We don't have the rest of our lives to be educating these idiots.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Brian. Do you think the final whatever it was, whatever. Anyway, do you think the videos were tampered with, were edited to the 24-hour sun?
I have no idea what it was, but I know there's certain things that don't match up. Certain things that were said, certain coordinates that were given that just don't match up to other things. So I have no idea. I can't say it was that the video was edited. I can't say it's real. I can't say it's false. That's the problem. They were supposed to go there and prove this thing is real. And I'm not. I actually feel kind of simple. Not that it mattered to me because I wasn't. Not that it mattered to me because I wasn't focusing on it. But the point being is that nobody can be any the wiser because we're dealing with a crowd of lawyers. So, how are you supposed to go? Yeah, there is a 24-hour Antarctic sun in December. When you look at all the details, you go, I can't trust these guys. I can't trust that in our show. But what I say is the 20. One second. The 24-hour Antarctic sun. If there's a 24-hour Antarctic sun, that means that there isn't 24. That there isn't time zones as we know them and as we use them. That means UTC time is wrong. Correct local time across Australia is wrong, and other places across Hawaii and Tahiti and many other places.
Yeah, that would just mess everything up.
Well, yeah,
that would mess everything up.
I mean,
if that was real.
Right, yeah, there's a like everything is like at that stage, everything like if we were to go by maybe not everything, but definitely time zones. It stands in complete opposition to time zones because the time zones as we know them, it could not work within that system.
Well, Brian, hypothetically speaking, if they saw a 24-hour sun circling above them, wouldn't that not make the rest of the sphere in darkness? No? Like, hypothetically speaking, if they were looking at the sun.
No, maybe not. No, maybe up north a bit, but generally, no, not with their parallel light rays.
Yeah, I guess the angle, it would hit the Earth. Okay, yeah.
You mean the almost parallel light rays?
Yeah, the almost exactly parallel light rays.
Yeah, they're parallel. When it benefits them, it's parallel. Yeah. What a mess, eh?
Well, it was done for a reason. And don't forget, when a documentary comes out, it's over for Flat Earth.
Will it stop being measured flat then?
No,
They're
that's when the
counting on
final
it.
experiment, that's when the final experiment becomes the devastating proof that they said it was going to be.
Oh, in the
Oh, the
documentary,
normies are going to believe them. Yeah, the normies are going to believe that. Yeah.
What was that, Chocolate?
We don't need to measure it flat anymore anyway. Now we've calculated what it is as a globe. We don't need the flat measurements anymore.
Yeah, but a
Well, yeah,
calculation is not a measurement.
But that was the thing in the video. That they must first measure the adjacent and measure an elevation angle using the triangle, right angle triangle, before they can do anything. Yet they want to try and throw man us with a stupid position. How come we can't find the height of Polaris with trigonometry if we're using a triangle? It's like, because Polaris doesn't behave like a mountain. What do I need to say? What more do I need to say to you? You know, but they want to use those measurements and the bizarre behavior of the celestial bodies in comparison to the terrestrial Earth, and then start doing their maths and claiming globe. You know, which is basically what, you know, because they'll have the certain elements within the almanac and other things supporting them only for a while, only up to a point, not as much as they think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like if they ignore the measurements and go straight to calculation, they can just shout globe.
The question I would ask. Sorry, the question I'd ask is if you have a point of reference, i.e. Polaris, North Pole, whatever you want to call it, and then you map a new point of reference, can you delete the original point of reference?
What do you mean, Craig? I don't understand your question.
Could you do without the North Pole if you put new poles elsewhere, like a West Pole and East Pole? Just you know.
Well, no, because they have to adhere to Polaris, so they're going to need the North Pole. Even though they want to place their North Pole, they see this is another heap of rubbish. They try to claim that Polaris moves a bit, right? Now I've only seen one video where Polaris does appear to do a quarter pendulum swing in the sky, maybe a third of a circle of a pendulum swing in the sky, right? Every other video I've seen, Polaris never moves. Everyone who has ever tried to see if it moves, it never moves, right? But the ball, I've seen a video from some guy where it shows a little tiny movement of Polaris. So even at that, when you're just bringing up North Pole, the GP point of Polaris is the North Geographic Pole. But they want to say that Polaris is moving around a bit, so they try and make the GP point of Polaris, which would be the center of the latitude and longitude grid, they want to make that slightly off the GP of Polaris. Everything they do is somehow perverting reality. Everything they do.
So the answer is no, then. We can't delete that point of reference and start working with a new one.
No, we can't, because that is they can't. How are you going to do that? If you're talking about Polaris, it doesn't move. So its GP is not going to move. And that's how we get, what are we going to use for, we'd have to completely change. We couldn't use the latitude and longitude grid or, that kind of thing.
So even if you had what they consider to be a fixed South Pole, you couldn't actually use that one.
Well, you have no way to use it because you have no reference for it in the sky, if you understand what I mean. There's no South Pole star to use. So the claim of a consistent South Pole for them, and even at that, there's other issues with the sky. Like the South Pole star, which you can't see, Sigma Octantis, right? is at the center, or is at the center of where the Southern Cross rotates around. But the Southern Cross moves north sometimes during the year, and you can see it further north. And the Big Dipper can be seen much further south at other times during the year, which is what goes around the North Pole, around Polaris. So there's all kinds of issues with the sky that do not match. They do not match its globe. They do not match the heliocentric paradigm. When you look into some of the intricacies, they don't match it at all. I'm not saying they match it in the first place, but their claims is that they do. So as you just brought up, on kind of there was the South Pole. How do you use the South Pole for anything when you don't have any reference for it?
Cool. So ultimately, without the Polaris giving you a fixed reference to a 90-degree angle, there is no other way of figuring out where you started from.
Pretty much. You can't. You need Polaris for the latitude and longitude grid. So, sorry, latitude and longitude. Without having Polaris, you can't refer to the grid because the grid doesn't exist. So,
yeah, I was just playing at devil's advocate. If you create your longitude, latitude lines, and then physically put markers around the world, you could argue we don't need the North Pole anymore. But
yeah, but that's like saying we have the best way to describe it.
Saying we've already got plenty of Ford Escorts, so we don't need the tooling anymore because we've got loads of them.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, it's like you're showing you can't reference the grid at all without adhering to Polaris. If you're trying to remove that element, I don't know how you'd have the grid in the first place.
cool. Let's clear that up then. I just wonder sometimes when we say Earth is measured flat, people really don't understand the simplicity of what we're saying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the most straightforward and simple measurement is latitude. To prove, like, I mean, you can go into airplanes and other surveying and other things, but latitude, you get your latitude by a Polaris. That's a measurement of a flat plane. It can't be any other way. Because why is, and this, like, same about longitude. So what are they? They're two dimensions. Two dimensions can't exist on the surface of a sphere because there's a drop between any 2 points on that surface. That requires three. So you need to be able to account for the drop, but you can't do a latitude and longitude. They can only exist on a flat plane because they are two dimensional. It's like when they bought or try and use XYZ. They just throw it out there. They share things like, XYZ, Cartesian. And they think that is going to get them past the line. No. X and Y is of that. The X and Y of that is a flat plane. It's the length and breadth. The Z again is the heights and drops above and below that horizontal plane. Like, they just try to place that at the center of the globe and say, see, it's a globe. It's like, how much of an idiot do you think I am? Do you know what I mean? Do you take it for? Do you think I'm going to just accept that complete rubbish? How could we use an XY grid on the surface of Earth if it was a sphere? Couldn't. It's impossible.
No,
Like with GPS, they actually find your location in XY. They try and hide this. This is something they try to hide. And you'll have the opposition, because I've dealt with them, doing their level best to deny it. But they find your position Like they'll try and tell you, oh, they find your position in three-dimensional space. They don't. They find your position in two-dimensional space. It's a coordinate system. They're using the coordinate system of the XY grid, which is connected directly to the latitude and longitude grid. That's what they first must do. Afterwards, they then place you on a globe, right? Mathematically, but they don't at any point use a globe. You know, when their GPS doesn't use a globe, there's no way for it to work and use a globe. It can't be done. So whatever you like, if you think about it, if you want to create coordinates, if you want to create a navigation system, what's the point in trying to work in 3 dimensions when you can work in 2 and then add in the third one? Like if I want to find where I am in relation to where you are, Craig, and Nathan is, and Adam and Neil, let's say that, right? Then the best way to do that is 2-dimensionally, and then I can add in the third dimension, which is just my elevation above sea level. I can do that afterwards with topographical mapping. But they want to claim all this silly nonsense that when I put it to them, none of them can geometrically show working. Geometrically, I have yet to have one of our opposition actually show their claims concerning GPS on a globe working. How the receiver could find its location with the information that they think it gets. Well, I know when I research that it gets more information than that, and different information, but they need to think that the receiver is receiving signals from 4 random positions in the sky, and the receiver receives the coordinates of those positions, right, which are 4 random points in the sky. It doesn't receive, this is according to them now, it doesn't receive any angle or azimuth information, so no compass bearing, just these 4 random. So if I give you, Craig, 4 random points in the sky, and you can't relate these points to the surface of the Earth because the Earth is a globe, right? So you have these 4 random points in the sky, and I don't give you azimuths of them or anything. Like, how are you going to find where you are with that information on the surface of a sphere? If on a flat plane you can do it because you can relate the coordinates that you're given to a point directly below let's say that if you had satellites over a flat plane, you can connect the satellite's coordinates, their XYZ coordinates, with an XY grid underneath it. But you can't do that with a globe because it's not going to work. The subpoint of these 4 claimed navigation and satellites will not be usable by the receiver. And the receiver requires the azimuth, which is the compass bearing, which is the flat plane bearing of these things, which according to our opposition they don't get. The receiver doesn't get. No, like the official story. But when you look into the background of the whole thing, suddenly, well, actually, what it really is this other thing. You know? Now they're still trying to hide what it is, and that's why I determined what it is that they're doing. But it's nonsense. You cannot use how are you going to use an XYZ coordinates, right, that you're going to be trying to give somebody a receiver for 4 random places in the sky when you're on a globe? I don't know how you're going to use the XYZ, unless you're using a flat plane from the center, right? But even at that, it won't work because the receiver cannot find its location with those circumstances. Can't do it. For coordinates, you require a flat plane. There's only 2 types of actual terrestrial coordinates. They're polar and Cartesian. And both of those, like Cartesian is 2 and 3 dimensional, but polar is only 2. And what's latitude and longitude? Polar. That's why they call it polar coordinates, polar. So there is no such thing as using coordinates without referring to the Earth as a complete flat plane. It's impossible to do. But they think that you can get these, you can be a GPS receiver and receive 4 random idiot coordinates in the sky, right? You can make no reference to because you don't know where these coordinates are, and you can find your location. You know what? They're idiots.
I think it's, I heard it, up to 10 random places in the sky, satellites that you can see at any time?
Yeah, they say like they say the receiver, but the receiver can pick up any amount that's it within its area in reality. But what the receiver within their paradigm and their claim, the receiver is always using 4, right, within their claim. Now, if you look into what they claim, it's such rubbish, and it would never work geometrically. But within their claim, they're saying it's always using 4. So I always say 4. Sometimes I say 4 or more. But
Would those,
go on, Craig, sorry.
would those 4 satellites be traveling fixed together so that there's no variation?
Well, supposedly they all orbit at the same rate, basically, and hold consistent distances from the center of the globe, Earth. But they're all moving in different directions. Well, in relation to the observer, kind of thing.
But they're not fixed together, so the information coming back would be totally nonsensical to the person on the ground if all the satellites are moving in different directions.
Well, yeah, because you have 4 random points in the sky. All you're gaining, what they want you to think is that you have a car that your car, basically, what they're trying to say in a funny way is that the radio station knows where your car is because your car radio is picking up the songs that it's playing. Do you know what I mean? A radio station just pumps out signal, right? Car radios pick them up. Let's just say, right?
No. Sorry, I couldn't help myself to interrupt. It's like saying, we know you've got a television. We detected it.
Yeah, but it's worse than that, Nathan. It's worse than that. That's why I use the radio station and the car radio. Does the person sitting in the radio station know where your car is, right? Because you're listening to the radio station? No. It's even worse because what you're saying is bizarre, right? But there could be some weird way they could figure that out through cables or something, right? In today's world. But no matter what way you twist or turn it, a radio station pumping out radio and car radios picking up that radio and the songs they're playing. Within their paradigm, the radio station is giving the car its location. It's ridiculous. So your car drives along, it picks up 4 radio stations within its whatever area, and those radio stations give the car its coordinates and location. Do you know what I mean? That's how ridiculous it is. That's literally how ridiculous their claim and the official claim is. That they try and say that the satellites give the receiver its location. It's like, no, the receiver must find its own location. It must find it off the information that's given by these 4 signal sources. So you have a receiver and 4 or more signal sources. And if the information that those sources are giving the receiver is not usable by the receiver, then how can it find its location? Right? No more than your car radio can find its own location because there is 4 random radio stations in the area that it's picking up.
To be fair, those radio stations have probably got fixed aerials.
Yeah, but see, this is the thing. At least they're fixed. This is exactly the thing. And I literally made that point. At least the radio stations are fixed, right, in one position. They have a consistent geometric location, right? Now, you could say that within the story of their paradigm that when they refer to the satellites, they're just taking like a snapshot of where the satellite is in the sky at that exact time. But at least the radio station's on the surface of Earth. So if you could somehow find where those stations are via your car radio, you could find out where you are, right? If you could somehow do it, right? If you could somehow get a bounce from them or something, because you'd be using a flat plane. But when you're dealing with 4 random positions in the sky, where supposedly the receiver doesn't use any azimuth or compass bearing and any elevation to these things, right? This is it does. That's why, right? But that they must give the impression that it doesn't, right? Because there's no how does it find? Who do you as a receiver? How do you know, right, anything about the 4 coordinates I've given you, right? Anything about them, right? If all I'm giving you are coordinates, I'm not telling you where those. That's another thing. I'm not telling you where those coordinates are. As in, I'm not saying here is my coordinates and I'm just over Kansas. I'm not telling you the Kansas part. I'm just giving you a claim coordinates. I'm not giving you an azimuth for where those coordinates are in relation to you. I'm not giving you any elevation above the surface for you to do any trigonometry with, because you're using you're using a globe. So how are you going to find out any of this stuff? You can't. Like within their official story, the receiver, even on a globe, even if we were all on a globe, hypothetically, the receiver still would have no chance in hell of finding its own location. No chance. So that's how ridiculous their claims are. But no, they'll argue with you tooth and nail. And even if you produce information and documentation that proves them wrong, and logic, not a hope. No, you're definitely wrong. The receiver just receives these random places in the sky, random coordinates in the sky that aren't connected to the ground, and they tell the receiver via general relativity somehow where it is hunky dory. You know what I mean? It's like, those kind of, well, we just wrap that one up there now. That's okay. Everything's okay. It's another one of those globe ones. We just put it on. I said, wrap it up. We'll ignore those things. It's pretend it works.
Yeah, I suppose. But if you're trying to calculate something from a random coordinate that actually changed every few seconds, or even more than that, because that's not fixed, is it?
No, but as I said, they can just take a snapshot of one of them. Like they can take it. So like the receiver, like within can just take a snapshot at an exact time where this satellite was, its coordinates in the sky at that exact time.
Yeah, but
right?
we're supposed to be providing a real-time, accurate information, as in position on the ground, relative to a position in the magic sky.
Yeah, I mean, it can do it. Let's just say within that paradigm, they would claim that it can do it over and over again, and it can, because my point being with GPS is not only that there's no way it can work on a globe. If you try to make it work and preassume a globe, beg the question, it still can't work. But not only does it require the Earth to be flat, but the GPS receiver is going to find its location in 2 dimensions. But it will use the coordinates given to it by a boat, a ship, if it's picking it up, or any consistent geometric location, any like a radio station type situation. I'm not saying a radio station, but any antenna that's pumping out this information. So it doesn't matter if it's stationary or if it's an airplane or whatever. The receiver can use that information. All it needs to know is the time that the information was sent, which is part of the information that's sent out.
Brian?
Yes, Guns.
Yeah, do you figure, okay, they use towers, right? Like thousands of towers all around, on Earth. Do you think they have towers floating in the ocean for,
Yeah,
to use a GPS or whatever?
They do have guns. They're on the top of ships.
Oh, yeah. So technically, they could be shooting a signal right across the ocean via the tower on these ships, right?
Well, if you have a receiver in your hand, a GPS receiver, and you're somewhere where you have a straight line of sight out to the ocean, out to the sea, and there's a ship there, right, and it's pumping out its coordinates via its GPS, and there's a plane flying above you or somewhere near you, and there's also a stationary antenna on land, 2 stationary antennas right? Now, with those 4 things alone, now you wouldn't even need 4, but even with those 4 things alone, if the receiver is picking up the coordinates of those 4 things on a flat plane, right, at an exact time, then the receiver then can, right, once it gets it needs more than what the globers think that it gets. It would need a little bit extra.
Yeah.
But the receiver, right, well, basically it needs the use of mapping within internal mapping that they try to deny it has, when it has. What good is the coordinates to you if you don't know where that coordinates is in relation to, right? But
another question.
So all it needs is points on a map. All it needs is points on a map, and for it to determine then, so, right, they can use triangles. Then they can use crossing lines, azimuth crossing lines, and all that too. Which is how I can't see any other way for it to work. Right? Once it finds its location in 2 dimensions with the topographical mapping, it can give the person the elevation. Because it knows this point on Earth is X height above or below sea level. Simple as.
Yeah, it has to be a flat plane or a flat ocean. Has to be in order to work.
Well, I don't know how you're going to get the coordinates with the official story. You just can't. It's impossible. I know. I've gone through the whole process. Can't be done.
Okay, another question I have for you, Brian. Okay, you know, satelloons, supposedly balloons, high altitude balloons with satellite equipment.
Yeah, they exist.
Could they make them? Yeah. Could they make them geocentric or just static, like just sitting in one spot? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know enough about them, but you can totally use them for something like GPS. All it needs to be doing is pumping out its coordinates. Like if it's getting information from the ground, right? Let's say a satellite getting information from the ground from different sources, right? And it's pumping out that information. Right? The information it gets from the ground, let's just say, it gets information of the coordinates of 2 or 3 places on the ground, and it uses trigonometry then to determine where it is, which you could do as theory said, in a Planck time. Right, then it can real time pump out its coordinates over the surface of Earth, so it can be used, right? And you could a GPS receiver could totally use that information in reality.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think they do, because they're crashing to Earth all the time. These balloons, and they have satellite equipment on them, so they obviously and you see them at night.
That's not a conspiracy. That's like you can go to NASA. They have but this is not something that they're like. The ballers want that people want to make everything into a conspiracy. Those flat earthers are saying satellites exist. No, we all say that there's videos. Yeah. No, literally, there is a satellite program from NASA. It's a massive program.
Yeah, I know. You can see them launching them, like videos. They have actual official videos. They use those big trucks with big booms on them.
Well, it's another situation where they're calling us crazy when their claim is 1,000 times crazier than what we're just pointing out. We're crazy for pointing out just facts. We're crazy when we point out just something that's factual. We're crazy, supposedly.
Yeah. But indoctrination. We are all like that when we were younger too. Hey, like we believe that too as well. We were programmed.
I wasn't a bozo like these people. There's a limit. You know what I mean? There's a limit of grace that I'll give. You know what I mean? But the people we're dealing with for years now, it's like I can't give like that limit. They passed that a long time ago.
Oh yeah. Well, your presentations, they're so pinpoint and factual. It just goes over their head. And then they just leave shitty comments in your section there. They just troll you. And you have the facts right there, the information.
Well, it drives them mad. That's what it does. It drives them mad because you just find out what actually actual reality to them.
Exactly.
If anyone could watch the video I put out last night there, and there's a guy in there, and he in the video on the comments, and he's saying something about how I'm a fool and I need to learn geometry. And it's just like, I didn't point out anything that wasn't correct geometry at all in my video. So I don't know what he's talking about. It's just like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm a fool, I don't know geometry. When there's literally nothing in the video that I pointed out that is incorrect geometrically.
Yeah, it's
Nothing.
poisoning the well.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
trying to character assassinate you, Brian.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's all they did.
Yeah, right on. Yeah.
No,
That's what those trolls are for anyway. They're to discredit you and stuff. Yeah, that's all they're there for.
But they're very obvious at this stage, I think, on people's videos. Because I reckon if I was an everyday person who came across one of Nathan's videos or my videos or someone else's, let's say, flat size even, whatever, and I'm not coming across the same troll comments and same stupidity, I'm going to, I suppose my videos are a good example because you have the same people leaving loads of comments, writing new comments weeks after the video comes out. Like literally weeks after the videos come out, you have people coming in writing random comments, starting new threads, this kind of stuff. And all their friends come in and start talking to them on their on this new thread. Like the video was out 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and they're all in there on a thread talking about how bad the video is. It's like, how obvious are you trying to be that there's something going on here? You know,
Right.
how obvious are you trying to be?
Well, Adam came in and said that Ranty's on the move, and all he's doing is claiming that Nathan's book is rubbish. Now, how does he have the right to even say that when the book has not even been released? He hasn't read one paragraph from it, and he said that Nathan Oakley's book, Welcome to Flat Earth, is a bunch of rubbish.
Well, that's what he's going to say, because he has to pretend to be a baller. Randy doesn't have a crystal ball. Randy doesn't have much of anything. He doesn't have much credibility. Doesn't have, I don't know if he has any. Randy's just trying to be relevant in an arena that he lost all relevancy in several years ago. So I don't know what Randy thinks that the ballers, they don't care about Randy. Nobody likes a turncoat, right? Because everyone knows that Randy didn't genuinely turn. Right? Nobody likes a turncoat. Nobody on either side. Nobody's going to trust or want to know about a turncoat. All you're going to get if you turn to the ball side, thinking you're going to get some benefit out of it, all you're going to get is about 50,000 pats on the back, right, for the first couple of weeks, and then you'll be discarded. Right? It depends on your popularity. Randy had a certain amount of popularity. He had a reasonably big name, so within the arena. So he got a certain amount. Jaron Campanella will get more because Jaron Campanella holds more sway. So they're going to use whichever clown has the biggest public sway or is best known publicly. Obviously, it's going to be Jaron Campanella. Randy's turning up trying to make himself relevant again. I'm sorry, Randy. You had your time in the baller, son. It's done. It's over. Jaron Campanella has his time at the moment, and that will end too. It'll go on longer than yours. Just it's over, Randy. There's no way.
Brian,
nobody don't want to hear what you have to say. You're a fraud. End of story.
Well, didn't Ranty collaborate with the Cats for a little while there? Weren't they together on some
collaborating
channel?
with all of them.
Yeah, Cats. It was to do with Ghost or something, or I thought Cats and Ranty had some sort of a. Was that what's that, Neil?
There you have it. Now he's collaborating with Cats about ghosts. Oh boy!
Yeah, that was but that was even prior to
that
was prior to switching. Anyway,
it didn't work very good. Yeah.
The point is that Ranty didn't get Nathan to go on his channel and debate these four ballers and make Ranty relevant. So now Ranty is saying Nathan's book is no good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Ranty, I mean, just go away by. Nobody wants to know you. Nobody cares about you. You're irrelevant.
Yeah. He's jealous.
When you were relevant,
he's jealous.
Sorry, Bones, I'm speaking a second. When you were relevant, I'm trying to get this point out to Ranty. When you were relevant, right? When you were relevant, you didn't show the loyalty you should have shown, and you've lost all that now. Now you're just a nobody. Go back to just stick to doing painting and decorating. You're supposedly very, very good at that. Just stick to what you're good at and forget about this arena because there's no purpose for you.
Do you remember the P900 and the drone conspiracy with Ranty? Do you remember that? He needed money for that.
Well, I have a challenge there for Ranty or anyone else who has a drone who is willing to do it. You know, so if he goes onto my channel and goes down through the videos, he'll see it. The Blackpool challenge, he'll see it. You know, if he, you know, with his drone, if he supposedly has a drone that was bought for him by the community, cost him thousands. So, you know, he should have that drone considering other people bought it for him.
Oh, also remember he gave Arwen a P900 and then he wanted it back or something. I remember Arwen was complaining about that.
No. He gave
Yeah,
Arwen
who
a
cares about that?
No. Yeah, he gave Arwen. No, just.
No, I'm just saying.
Just you shouldn't be bringing up this nonsense. But as he did, I'm going to give it correctly. No, he gave Arwen a P900, and Arwen didn't give a damn. Didn't show any. What's the word I'm looking for? When
He
someone
didn't use it for what he said he was going to use it for. He was supposed to be getting observations.
Never mind that.
Right.
Arwen didn't show any gratitude. He didn't show any gratitude.
Yeah.
So in that instance, Ranty was right because Arwen was an asshole. He gave Arwen a P900 and Arwen, oh yeah, whatever. You know?
Okay.
So.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. And
Enough of
Nathan
that.
tried to cover for him. Hold on. Nathan tried to cover for him, saying that he just like really threw it on his lap and he didn't have a chance to respond. Yeah, he just showed no gratitude, number one. Number two, what did he do with it? Did he go out and take pictures and get observations? No. So I'd be annoyed too.
Yeah, but he can do what he wants with it. That part, I like. If Ranty or if Arwen decided to go around taking photos of pigeons, that's his own business. That's not the point. I would have to stand with Ranty there. He didn't show Ranty any gratitude after Ranty giving him a camera that was worth hundreds. So many other people would have liked to have gotten that camera. So what I mean, but they didn't get it because he gave it to Arwen. So in fairness, he did give Arwen the camera, but he did give Arwen the camera, but Ranty himself had gotten help getting I think the P1000, and he got the drone was basically bought for him by the community. So. So he was okay himself. But if I'm giving someone a P900 camera, I expect I'm not looking for a pat in the back, but I'm expecting the person to at least acknowledge that they just got given a free camera. Something. Do you know what I mean? So I'd have to be with Ranty on that one. Arwen was being an a-hole.
Yeah, at least acknowledge that you were supposed to give Roxanne a bunch of money and you didn't. At least acknowledge it.
God, I remember that. I was on the stream that night. Oh my God. What an asshole.
The problem is you're comparing assholes.
Yeah, that's true. But do you remember that night with Roxanne? Oh my God, that was such a debacle. My God. Yeah, that's right.
You got the lawyer Anthony involved in that one. And when the lawyer gets involved, he's going to make you look bad.
Yeah, exactly. What was that called? Round table or no? Round table or something? Or what was that called? I think Brandon used to run it. Brandon guy, and he just disappeared. I don't know where he went.
They should have called it Randy's Circle of Idiots.
Yeah, Pete Shea was always in there, remember? Good old Pete Shea.
No. Pete Shea is an intellectual engineer. I'm sorry, pioneer. He's an intellectual pioneer.
He's the guy that said everybody, we were all actors and nobody died in the trade centers. Oh my God. Remember him
No.
saying
What he
that?
said
Oh my
was
God.
what he said was chocolate was an agent, and I'm an agent
Oh,
too
yeah.
because we were both from New York and in New York at the time 9/11 happened.
Oh my God. Were you dancing on your car too? Hey, you remember the van? The
Well, I can
Jewish
tell you
guys were
this:
supposed to be dancing on the van.
I didn't see any planes, but I did see large gaping wounds on two towers.
Yeah. 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 Those videos were edited anyway for live on TV. We saw airplanes. But like you said, in person, a lot of people said they didn't see any planes.
Guns.
But
How far
obviously,
away from flat out? Guns. How far away from flat out are you trying to bring this? And how many more
oh, yeah.
topics that we are not allowed to talk
You're
about
right.
on YouTube
Okay.
are you going to
With
try talking about? Like
I'm
I've
sorry.
listened
I'm
to you.
sorry about that.
I
Yeah.
listened to you there now. I've listened to you, and you brought it from one thing gradually to the next, to the next, to the next. So suddenly you're talking
I'm
about 9/11.
sorry. Yeah, I
Nothing to
know.
do with flat
It's
out. So
because
I
I'm
don't know why you're doing that.
ranty and then, yeah,
You
exactly.
keep doing this
You're
all the
right,
time.
Brian. Brian, I'm sorry. Brian, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, you're so
You're more
sorry
on
when
the
you're walking
topic.
straight through me pointing out that you're acting like a shit.
Oh, jeez.
Dun, dun, dun. Guns of
Are you
Naverone.
serious?
Shill or not a shill?
Not. My God. I can't. I'm not a shield, Brian.
How high
And,
were those
Neil?
towers? Because you could only work that out from a flat Earth.
There you go, Craig. Bring it back to
Yes.
flat earth.
There you go.
Now we don't even hold on.
Angle. Yeah.
Wait,
And,
Guns, relax. We don't even have to say, Craig, click OK, shill or not a shill. He brought it to flat earth. But we have to say, Robert, Sons of Navarone, shill or not a shill?
Oh my goodness.
No.
I'm going to round out with that. Another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.